Get this link shared. Sure. Hello, hello. It's a Friday. Is anyone out there? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. All right. Uh-oh. Oh, hello. We have someone here. I was worried since it's a Friday, no one was gonna show up. Okay, should I wear headphones? Eh, forget it. These don't do anything. I basically just wear these to try and block out noise around me. I don't get anything through these. Darkness, my old friend. Hello, 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 hello. Glad you could join me. So yeah, we're doing a Friday stream this week because I work tomorrow. So this was the only day I could do it. But yeah, hopefully we still have a good time. I hope everyone's had a good week. Oh. I saw your stream from 2 weeks ago, which I could not attend because you praised Box Trolls, Paranorman, and Kubo and the Two Strings so highly. I've bought them all on Blu-ray. Well, good for you. I actually... oh, shoot. Box Trolls and Paranorman both in 3D, too. I'd like to see those in 3D. I don't have a 3D TV, though. Plus, I've heard, like, home versions of 3D aren't quite so good. I don't know that. I've never seen it, though. Yeah, it's been a while since I've purchased Blu-rays. I'm trying to save, like, every cent I can. But I made the rare splurge the other week. And I bought a couple of cheap ones. But, yeah, just because I'm so in love with the Leica stuff right now. I did get... Yeah, I did get Coraline, because I just had to own it. Yeah, I didn't have a copy, and I wanted it so bad. And it's not that expensive, and it's a great Blu-ray, too. It's got a lot of great features on it, and it looks gorgeous. You can really appreciate how incredible the animation is in it on Blu-ray. So yeah, I don't regret it. I do not regret my decision at all. And yeah, I did get Paranorman as well, which was another cheap one. And I'd like to get the Box Trolls. I want to get the Box Trolls. We'll see if I can scrape together money for that as well. But there's also the Criterion sale coming up on Barnes & Noble. And I want to try and get at least one thing from that as well. So I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'll take in cans and bottles and stuff. They just recently... used to be a nickel refund on the recycling. They just upped it to 10 cents. So, hey, you can make a pretty good haul if you take in a big bag of cans and bottles. I might be able to get some money that way for some Criterions and the Box Trolls. I received 3 more Ingmar Bergman Criterion Blu-rays today. Which ones? I've got quite a few of those. Yeah, I've got Cries and Whispers, Seventh Seal, of course, Wild Strawberries. What else do I have? I think I got... Yeah, I do have Persona, which is a great one. Yeah, they've been putting out a lot more Bergman that I don't have yet. Oh, Fanny and Alexander, of course. That's a great one. But yeah, there's so much I want to get at the Barnes & Noble sale. I think it starts on the 11th, so pretty soon. But yeah, everyone's telling me I need to get Stalker. If I can, I'll try and get Tarkovsky's Stalker on Blu-ray so I can give that a good watch on a beautiful Criterion Blu-ray. I also really want to get Ghost World, the Blu-ray of that. That looks like such a good disc they put together for that one. Why isn't The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover on Criterion? That I do not know. Criterion hasn't... I don't think they've put out any Peter Greenaway movies, but I think it would be really cool if they did. I'd love to see a Peter Greenaway film on Criterion Blu-ray. Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover would be a great place to start, because it's only on DVD, and yeah, it doesn't look so good, and that's such a visual film. It would really benefit from the high-definition treatment. I would love to see any Peter Greenaway stuff on Criterion, but especially Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover. And they could get him in to record a commentary. Peter Greenaway always does the best commentaries. I mean, he's such a hyper-intelligent guy. He can just talk and theorize for hours and hours. He always has the most interesting commentaries. Yeah, so I'd love to hear him talk about that movie as well. We Can Dream, hopefully. Sometime soon. Or Short Bus. Yes, absolutely. Short Bus. Another great movie. DVD's out of print. It needs a Blu-ray release. It needs high definition. Even though it was shot in mini DV, so the picture quality on Short Bus is only going to be so good because of the source format. But, yeah, I would love to see a Criterion Blu-ray of Short Bus. If anything, just to get that movie... more out there, get it, just to make more people aware of it, because if a film gets a Criterion release, then yeah, a lot of people are going to pay attention to it. But yeah, I love Short Bus. We got Felix in the chat here. Couldn't be a guest on the stream this week. It's just me flying solo today. My brother's working, Felix is back in Portland. Still no stream? Can everyone see me? Can everyone hear me? Okay, well, hopefully we're not having too many problems with the stream then. But yeah, glad Felix can join us in the chat. Yeah, we watched The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover when he was last couple days he was here, and yeah, I think we watched Short Bus. And I think he liked them both. Yeah, those are two of my favorite movies. Dream on, Henry. Have you ever heard of the Teen Apocalypse trilogy by Greg Araki? I think I have heard of it. I forget exactly what is in the trilogy, though. But I do like Greg Araki. I think he's a very good filmmaker. Oh, okay, I see you fine. Streaming audio 10 out of 10. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, hey, Felix. Felix is here, everyone. If you tuned into the last two streams, yeah, he was here. Which I did. I don't think I did my introduction, but hi, this is Videodrone. I'm Disregarding Henry. We're talking about movies. Just kind of getting warmed up here. Yeah, normally we do the streams on Saturday, but had to do this one on Friday, yeah, because of my work schedule. But yeah, I do like Greg Araki. His film Mysterious Skin, I think, is an amazing movie. Anyone who hasn't seen Mysterious Skin should really check that one out. Oh, stream finally works? Okay. Looks like Movies for Life was having a problem with the stream, but looks like we're okay now. Prefer streams on Friday. Well, most of my days off tend to fall on Saturdays. It tends to vary. Like, I'll get a Wednesday off and a Saturday, or a Saturday and a Sunday, but most consistently, it seems, I do get Saturdays off. So, I don't know if I'll be able to do Friday streams. I think it's going to have to stay on Saturday. So, sorry about that. But yeah, I'm just trying to work around my schedule here. But yeah, Mysterious Skin. Great movie from Greg Araki. A very difficult film to watch, very dark. It's about child abuse, but very beautiful too, and very heartbreaking. I'm trying to think what other Greg Araki stuff I've seen. I've seen some of his more anarchic, kind of like playful comedies, like Kaboom, which I enjoyed. I haven't seen a lot of his earlier stuff. Felix did post the trilogy. Totally Fucked Up, Doom Generation, Nowhere. I think I saw Doom Generation many years ago, back in high school. I don't really remember it, but I would like to. I'd like to revisit that one and try and watch some more of Greg Araki's like early punk stuff from the 90s. Yeah, I haven't seen too much of his work, but I am a fan of what I've seen. Let's see, Sasha, you got Summer with Monica, Smiles of a Summer Night, and Summer with Monica. Did you get the DVD and the Blu-ray? But yeah, I have those two. Summer with Monica, Smiles of a Summer Night. Yeah, I have that, and I'm not sure what. Maybe Summer Interlude. I think that's another one that Criterion has put out on Blu-ray. But I have all of those as well. Yeah, a lot of Bergman out there. Oh, but I have all the ones you mentioned too. Okay, yeah. Those are essentials, right? Like Cries and Whispers, Fanny and Alexander, Seventh Seal, yeah, Wild Strawberries. Those are all pretty well essential, yeah, for any art house film fans collection or any Criterion collection. Oh, I imported the US box trolls. Oh, the Leica stuff, because on the UK Universal Blu-rays they remove the words from the menus. That's strange. I don't know why they would do that. It might be a glitch. Yeah, I don't know why they would do that. They remove the words from the menus. That's strange. I think I've had a couple problems like that on some of my Blu-rays. I'm not sure what causes it, but yeah, sometimes the text will fail to show up. Yeah, but I don't know, though. Let's see. Oh, some questions for Felix. Okay. Oh, yeah, Summer Interlude. Okay. Gotcha. Early Bergman. Watched Persona last night, too. Last Light, too. Yeah, I haven't seen Persona in a while. I need to rewatch that one. That's one that, yeah, I watched many times back in high school when I was first starting to get into filmmaking. That was one, yeah, I watched at least half a dozen times. Oh, no, they remove the words and replace them with logos. It's a choice, and an awful one. Huh. I don't know if I've ever seen that. Interesting. But yeah, I need to go back to Persona. It's been a while. What are people talking to Felix about? Felix, have you seen Kevin Smith's video reaction to Thor Ragnarok? It's hilarious. Sasha, no. I've been secluding myself from the web right now. Besides Henry's videos, I'm not really surfing the web. Forgive my grammar and spelling. I'm at work sneaking this stream. Oh, don't get caught then. Okay. Felix wants to know, what's the last terrible movie you watched by a good director? I think you were there for that, Felix. That was another one you were here for before you left. Gods of Egypt by Alex Proyas. I don't know if everyone watching has seen that one, but my God. I don't tend to watch too many bad movies anymore. Just generally, if something looks bad to me, I'll just avoid it. But I don't know, something possessed me. I wanted to watch Gods of Egypt because I am an Alex Proyas fan. I am a fan of his other work. I think The Crow is great. The Crow, I think, is one of the best comic book movies ever made. Brendan Lee is fantastic. And yes, of course, tragically died on the set of that movie. But I mean, yeah, he just commands the screen in that performance. And yeah, The Crow is such a brilliant work of visual style. I mean, production design, cinematography, special effects, costume, makeup. It's great. The Crow is just an absolute visual masterpiece. And Dark City, his second film, that's another great, just stylistic masterpiece. Dark City might be just, yeah, in terms of the visual world he's able to craft and create on screen in that one, it might be even better than The Crow. Those are two phenomenal movies. And then yeah, after that he left his native Australia, came to Hollywood, started making Hollywood movies. Generally they haven't been as good as, you know, his first two, but you know, I don't think they've been bad. Like he did I, Robot, which you know, wasn't great, but it was a fun sci-fi action movie. Could have been more, but you know, I didn't think it was bad. And then he did Knowing, which I think to this day remains a very divisive film. There are people that I think sort of like it, and there are people that just think it's absolutely one of the worst films ever made. I was on Letterboxd the other day because I actually just rewatched Knowing. We watched Gods of Egypt, and that movie was so terrible, it actually made me start to question Alex Proyas's other movies. Like, it made me wonder, did I actually like those films, or was I just crazy at the time? Because Gods of Egypt was such an incompetently made movie. I couldn't believe that this was the same guy that did it. So I was like, I want to go back to Knowing and rewatch this one and see if I was just delusional when I originally watched it. And it's on Netflix, and I gave it a second watch, and I actually did still like it. It's not a perfect movie, you know. I think some of the child actors they get maybe aren't quite so natural. Nick Cage, you know, he does Nick Cage it up in a few scenes. It is kind of melodramatic in spots and some awkward dialogue. But overall, again, I just think Proyas's visual technique is so strong. He's able to build a really strong tone, a really potent sense of foreboding doom. And I think it's got an interesting story. It's well told. So despite those weaknesses, I do think Knowing is a good movie. It's an enjoyable film. Again, not great, but I don't think it's as bad as I've seen some people say it is. I was on Letterboxd, after I watched it, and I was seeing 1-star reviews all over the place saying it was one of the worst films ever made. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's one of the worst films ever made. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's great, but I think it's good. But then, Gods of Egypt. Holy shit. I don't know what happened. I do not know what happened with that movie. That's one where, you cannot exaggerate how awful it is. I mean, all of the hyperbole you hear about certain other movies like Last Airbender or Knowing, or, gosh, I'm trying to think what else. But just all those movies that are supposedly some of the worst movies ever made, generally, at least when I watch them, I find that they're never as terrible as they're made out to be. Gods of Egypt is one of those rare exceptions. It actually is as bad as people are saying it is. It's one of the worst films I have ever seen in my life. It is. And it's been a while since I've seen one that bad. But, God, the whole thing was just a disaster. It was an absolute disaster from start to finish. The storyline was really just the silliest thing I've ever seen. The acting was horrible. And the special effects, this thing is crammed with as many special effects as you could possibly cram into a movie, and they all look awful. Like, I've heard some people say this, a lot of the CGI effects look like PS2 or Xbox era kind of like computer animation, and it's true. I mean, it's so awful. It looks at least 10-15 years out of date. I can't believe this is a movie that came out last year, cost about $150 million to make, and was made by one of the most talented visual stylists currently working, and he made that. That is what came out the other end. I can't even wrap my brain around it. How could a movie get fucked up that badly? How could someone look at that and think, this is a finished film, put it out there, let people go see it? Jeez. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but man, it's bad. It is really one of the worst movies you could ever watch. It's not even one of those movies that's so bad it's good. It's just a bad movie. It was funny, like Felix and my brother and we were all laughing our asses off for like the first, maybe up to the first hour, and then after that, there's still more than an hour left after that, and then it just started eating away at us. I mean, we couldn't even finish it. I think it got to where there was like half an hour, 20 minutes left, and we were spent. We couldn't take any more, and we stopped it. We didn't finish it. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I hope Alex Proyas still has a good movie left in him, but man, after Gods of Egypt, I have my doubts. That was, I actually had to go back to his earlier stuff just to remind myself, no, okay, he was talented. This is maybe just a misstep or something, I don't know. Maybe he was stoned out of his mind, maybe he wasn't even there. I don't know what happened, but my God. Gods of Egypt is one of the worst movies I've seen in a very, very long time. But anyways, yeah. Then we have Gods of Egypt. 300 meets The Mummy. Wait, there weren't any fucking mummies or anything cool or good. It did have kind of a 300 feel. Only 300 actually had an aesthetic. 300 actually had like a look that it was going for, like the special effects, the cinematography, the color grading. I mean, everything in 300 felt like part of a cohesive whole. It felt like part of a style, an aesthetic that it was building. I mean, Gods of Egypt really didn't have that. Everything was like bright and shiny and just garish and awful. Like, nothing gelled. Nothing worked. Gods of Egypt was just, it was a visual mess. It was terrible. Ugh, I gotta get off it, because there's only so many ways I can say a movie sucks. Oh, but my God, I'm still sort of in awe of that one. I think back on certain scenes, and I still am having trouble believing that it was actually a real movie, that I actually did sit down and watch that. But yeah, everything you've heard, it's absolutely true. It's terrible. Knowing was absolutely incredible until the last 10 minutes. It's the worst ending in any movie I've seen. I'll kind of agree with you there. I don't think the ending to Knowing was so great. I look at it as sort of like a comic book movie. You know, I don't think it's exactly trying to take place in the real world. I think it's trying to be heightened and stylized and kind of like this graphic novel brought to life, you know. So I look at pretty much all of Alex Proyas's movies that way, that they have this heightened sensibility and this stylized approach to character and storytelling. So, I mean, it's sort of a cool idea. I don't know if everyone's seen Knowing, so I don't really want to spoil it too much. But yeah, it's a stretch. But it's sort of a cool idea. But I mean, yeah, it leaves me with mixed feelings, you know. I guess just because of the themes that it's exploring, of like whether everything in the universe is by design, and whether every event, no matter how insignificant, is part of a larger purpose, is part of a larger plan. You know, it's about faith versus science and determinism versus chaos. And so it's sort of about that, and a character going from sort of like M. Night Shyamalan Signs. It's sort of about a character going from believing that everything is just chaos, there's no purpose or meaning behind anything, and gradually seeing that there is kind of there's a structure and a pattern and some kind of higher purpose beyond what is perceived governing the actions of the universe, which, you know, I don't really agree with. I don't happen to really believe that, but it's a fun idea to explore in a movie. But yeah, the ending it's a bit of a stretch. I'll agree with you. I don't think it's the worst ending I've ever seen, but yeah, it's a bit of a stretch. I can see not everybody willing to go along with it. Let's see. Oh, I can confirm for you that Ghost World is a fantastic Criterion title. Transfer is perfect, too. That's good to hear. I love audio commentaries, and I'm really eager to listen to Terry Zwigoff's director's commentary on that movie. I'm one of those people that really enjoys listening to the audio commentaries, especially when it's by a director who's really kind of in their own world, like Terry Zwigoff. He's sort of like the filmic equivalent of Crumb, you know, really like this dark, depressive personality, but a brilliant creative artist. Keep doing this. I'm watching myself on the screen here, and I don't know. I'm getting distracted by my own hand movements. Let's see. What about The Happening? That's terrible, and some of the dialogue is hilarious. Yeah, I actually watched some clips of The Happening on YouTube the other day. It's been years since I've seen it. Last time I watched it, though, I thought it was awful, but rewatching some clips, like, yeah, I got to admit, that is a movie that's so bad it's good. The clip I saw was the scene where they're in the field, and it's when Mark Wahlberg is first, like, figuring out that it's the trees that are killing everybody. And yeah, just all like you said, the dialogue, it's so just not how people talk. It's so stilted and awkward and delivered so woodenly by good actors too. Those are good actors who have given some great performances in other movies, but they just seem to have no clue what they're doing. They have absolutely no emotional connection with their characters. And so yeah, all the dialogue is just delivered in this most artificial, like unnatural way. Like Zoe Deschanel has a great line where Mark Wahlberg's doing like his freak out, like he's supposed to be upset, so he when they hear people start killing themselves over the hill, and when they're in the field, and he's like, oh no. That's his reaction. That's panic in that movie. Oh no. And then he starts trying to figure it out, and Zoe Deschanel's like, we're not just gonna be uninvolved observers. Who talks like that? That is pretty funny. I will admit that is very funny. I'd kind of like to rewatch the movie and yeah, approach it as a comedy, because there are some pretty hilarious moments and lines of dialogue in there. Getting PTSD from Gods of Egypt. But other than that, I'll be fine. Hope you're recovering, Felix. The Crow is a masterpiece. That it is, yeah. Every time I rewatch The Crow, I'm always so consistently impressed by what a masterwork it is. Just a visual masterwork. And also, yeah, an atmospheric masterwork. Everything impresses me about that movie. I mean, the writing, I mean, the dialogue, yeah, it's so clever and funny. And none of it's, I guess what you get from action movies today, where the hero's just really sarcastic and self-aware and giving all these smart-ass remarks. The script for The Crow is genuinely clever, and it builds really strong characters and real relationships between those characters, and the dialogue reflects their personalities. It's an amazing movie on every level, from script to design to performance to execution. Granted, the effects have dated. It's not going to look like an Avengers movie looks today. It was made, I think, in the early 90s. So yeah, some of the effects have dated, but I'm willing to look past that because everything else is so good. And I think they still get the job done. I don't think there's anything like Gods of Egypt where it's distractingly bad. I think all the special effects in The Crow, they do what they need to do. They get the atmosphere across, they get the setting across, they tell a piece of the story. So I don't think anything's really distracting about it. Distractingly dated. I think it all still works. Oh, by 300 I meant Gerard Butler's character. I forgot, actually. I forgot that there were actual humans in Gods of Egypt. Yeah, I forgot Gerard Butler was in it. And I don't know why, but it just seems Gerard Butler keeps appearing in movies that I generally regard as the worst I've ever seen. Like, off the top of my head, I can think of 3 movies that he was the star of that I would call 3 of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And it's not because of him. I have no negative feelings towards Gerard Butler, but it just seems like he just keeps appearing in these awful, awful movies. But I mean, Gods of Egypt just got added to the list. 2 others I would put on there would be Gamer and Olympus Has Fallen. Those are absolutely 3 of the worst films I've ever seen in my life, and they all star Gerard Butler. So I don't know what it is about him, why he keeps appearing in these movies that I hate. But I have nothing against him. It's not because of him. They're just terrible movies, and I think they would have been terrible even if he wasn't in them. So it's just a coincidence that all 3 star Gerard Butler. Oh yeah, Alex Proyas also attacked critics who did not like Gods of Egypt. The whole thing was pretty ridiculous. It led to some hilarious responses from critics like Mark Kermode. I heard about that yeah, after the negative reception of Gods of Egypt, that Alex Proyas went on like this rampage, this like tirade that he posted on Facebook. I read like little bits of it. But yeah, it's always ugly when stuff like that happens. I didn't read the whole thing, but yeah, it was an ugly episode. And yeah, there was a whole controversy with with the casting too, that the cast was whitewashed in that movie. And then I guess after the film came out, everyone kind of dropped that conversation because it's like, okay, yeah. I read a review on Letterboxd by somebody I follow, Barry. I shared one of his videos that he posted on his channel. He does this. He just started doing this series called Into the Lesser Known, which is a nice little series. I'm hoping, he keeps with that. But he posted a review on Letterboxd that I saw, and he was talking about the issue of diversity and whitewashing in that movie. And he was saying, like, this movie turned out to be less a missed opportunity and more a bullet dodged. Like, I think people were glad that the movie didn't end up being so diverse in the end. It's like, okay, we want nothing to do with that. Let's put that in the past. Let's drop that conversation. I think that's a very good point. Let's see what we got here. Oh, definitely check out Mark Kermode's response to Gods of Egypt. It's golden. Yeah, people are always mentioning Mark Kermode to me. I do need to start checking out some of his stuff. Yeah, apparently he's a pretty cool critic. Law-Abiding Citizen was good, and Gerard Butler was good in it. Yeah, like I said, I have nothing against Gerard Butler. I think he's a good actor. It's just, for some reason, he keeps appearing in these movies that I hate. But yeah, I didn't think 300 was that bad. It seems like 300 kind of tends to be a divisive film as well. But yeah, I think it's okay. You know, it's not as good as other Frank Miller adaptations. Like, it's definitely not as good as Sin City. But, you know, I thought it was pretty to look at. Regarding The Happening, is that bad acting or bad directing, or both? I think really, yeah, I don't know if there really is such a thing as bad acting. Honestly, I think anybody can give a great performance if they're cast in the right role and the director knows how to collaborate with them. Because, I mean, you see movies starring like non-professional actors, child actors, animal actors. You can see a movie starring basically anyone or anything, even an inanimate object, and you could get a great performance out of it if you have a good script and a director that actually knows what they're doing. So I'm not sure bad acting really exists just in terms of the actor being bad. I think it really is determined very much by the script and the director. And just with The Happening, yeah, it was a terrible script. And I don't know what was going on with Shyamalan, because I do think he's a great director. I have really enjoyed and really admired most of his films. But just something was going on with The Happening. I don't know if it was just because he was in a really shaky period in his career, because he just directed his first like big flop, which was Lady in the Water. So I don't know if his confidence was shattered because of that, or if he was just having a difficult time with the producers, or I don't know what was going on. But yeah, he was so off of his game on that one. It's like watching a Mike Tyson fight, you know, towards the end of his career. He used to just be this this athlete of total confidence, and then you watch some of his later fights and it's just like, what happened? What is going on? It doesn't even seem like you're trying. That's how it feels to me, looking at Shyamalan's other movies like Unbreakable, which is such a masterpiece, Signs, which is a great movie. I even have a really deep appreciation for his more maligned works like The Village and Lady in the Water, and I think Split, yeah, shows that he still has that talent when he's really on. And you look at all those brilliant movies and then you look at The Happening, it's just like, oh geez, it's almost embarrassing. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that one, but yeah, it's pretty bad. Let's see. I know you're a fan of Jim Jarmusch, but I wonder what you think of Mystery Train specifically. I like Mystery Train. I'm a big fan of Jim Jarmusch, and yeah, I think I'm going to talk about Paterson today. I might save it for later on, but yeah, I'm a big fan of Jim Jarmusch, and Mystery Train. Gosh, it's hard to pick apart Jarmusch, because he's a very subtle, he's a very low-key filmmaker. So his films are really all about setting and character and quiet little moments. I think I heard I read an interview once with him where he described his own movies, and he said, like, most movies tend to be about, like, the big moments in a story, the big moments in a character's life. And he said his movies tend to be about the moments in between the big moments. Just these quiet little moments, like, in between something big happening, leading up to something else big happening. And I think that's a pretty accurate description. Like coffee and cigarettes, you know, it's just those moments when people are just kind of in a diner and, yeah, having a little conversation over coffee and cigarettes with somebody maybe they haven't seen in a long time. They're on their way to something important, and so it's just kind of that brief little moment where this little interaction happens. Or Night on Earth is another great one. It takes place completely in taxi cabs, and it's people on their way to something important, and he's just focusing on that little moment where the characters are in the middle of that journey. It's like that little beat in between that normally you never see. And I've always really appreciated that about his movies, because he's somebody that's so good at minute observation and building really memorable characters and hiring really great actors to bring those characters to life and giving you a feeling like you're seeing something really profound in the smallest moments. Paterson is definitely like that. It's one of his most low-key movies, and I'm still kind of trying to process my reaction to Paterson. I guess since I'm talking about it right now, I might as well just go into Paterson. It's a nice little transition. But yeah, oh, you did ask about Mystery Train though, but I do like that one. Yeah, I like the interweaving storylines in that one. I like the Japanese tourists and Steve Buscemi's getting involved, yeah, in that liquor store robbery. I think it has a lot of interesting storylines, a lot of interesting characters, a lot of great performances. Joe Strummer gives a rare acting performance in that one. I think he's very good. Jarmusch always works, yeah, with musicians who normally don't do a lot of acting, and he always gets really interesting, good performances out of them. Screamin' Jay Hawkins also has an appearance as a hotel proprietor, and he's very good as well. Yeah, I'm trying to think now. Yeah, I've always really loved Mystery Train, but it's hard for me to express why I really love some of Jarmusch's films. Like Down by Law has always been one of my favorites, and I guess just because of how specific the characters are, what a portrait it gives you of an interesting time and place. Like Down by Law is really an incredible portrait of New Orleans, and I guess kind of like the more squalid areas of New Orleans and the strange, interesting characters you meet there. And I think the ensemble is great. The three actors at the center of that movie, Roberto Benigni and Tom Waits and John Lurie, I think they're fantastic. Robbie Mueller's black and white cinematography is gorgeous. I think Mystery Train's kind of similar. I think it's got a great collection of characters. I think it presents a really wonderful, specific portrait of Nashville, Tennessee. That's where it takes place, right? No, Memphis. It's Memphis, not Nashville. It's Memphis, Tennessee. But yeah, getting into the mythology of Memphis and like the ghost of Elvis, and the ghost of Elvis literally does appear at one point in the movie. But getting into that history of culture, but also that it was kind of this place that was in an economic decline at the time when he made the movie in 1989, and just trying to capture where it was at that place and time, and create this unique collection of characters and these strange low-key stories. Yeah, I really like Mystery Train. I think it's a fun one. Yeah, it's easier to analyze Jim Jarmusch when he's making kind of like a bigger film. Like Dead Man, I think, is an easier one to talk about, because yeah, it's sort of like this spiritual, philosophical odyssey, and a lot of things happen in it, and there's a lot of drama and progression. Mystery Train, stuff like Mystery Train, or especially Paterson, not a lot really happens. So it's a little difficult to get a grasp on it and verbalize it, for me at least. Yeah, Jarmusch has always been tricky for me to really express, like why I love his movies so much. Only Lovers Left Alive is the same way. It's a vampire movie where nothing really happens. It's just sort of about vampires hanging out and contemplating eternal life. But there's something about it that really appeals to me, that I really connect to. I know some people find his movies very dull and very dry and very boring, and I can understand that. But if you can get on his wavelength, I think they're very enjoyable. He's sort of like, I almost kind of look at his movies as being like music. He doesn't really have like melodies and choruses or anything. His movies are just kind of like a groove, just a jam that he gets into, and maybe it doesn't really develop it into anything or go anywhere. But for me, it's a really cool groove that I enjoy just sort of getting into and being carried off by. So if it doesn't take me anywhere, I'm generally okay with that, just because I've enjoyed the rhythm of the groove. That's my Plum. Yeah, the Plum scene with Screamin' Jay Hawkins. I wish he did more acting roles. Screamin' Jay's he's a character. He's really a character. Let's see what else we got here. Before I go into Paterson, I just want to take another look at the chat here. Have you seen the Thelma and Louise trailer? It's very misleading, and it makes it out to be a fun, lighthearted comedy. You asked me that before, haven't you? I still haven't seen the Thelma and Louise trailer. I think I actually forgot to watch it. But I'll try and remember to check it out. I'll actually put that one on my list. Thelma and Louise trailer. Trailer. Alright, I'll try and watch it. I can't remember if I mentioned this last time you asked that either, but I don't know if anyone knows the movie Last Year at Marienbad. It's this really like dreamlike, like abstract kind of experimental French movie from the late 60s. That has actually one of the most interesting trailers I've ever seen, because it's like this non-narrative like art house film. It's very abstract and very dreamlike, doesn't really have a continuity to it or a consistent storyline. It's this like experimental film essentially. And that movie has a trailer that tries to sell it as like a gimmick film, like a William Castle kind of thing. Like William Castle always had these great gimmicks for his movies. Like he'd do stuff like he did a movie called Mr. Sardonicus, I think it was, where the audience could actually vote on what ending they wanted. So he shot 2 endings to the movie, and then every time the movie would play in a theater, the owners of the theater would hand out cards to every member of the audience, and they would vote on which ending they wanted to see, like I think it's whether the hero dies or whether he survives. And they would vote on which ending they wanted to see, hand them in. The theater would look at the cards. Whatever got the most votes, they would show that ending. That's kind of the way the trailer tries to sell Last Year at Marienbad, not as this atmospheric, dark, avant-garde kind of thing. It tries to sell it as like a gimmick movie where they say like, this is a movie where you decide what happens. It's basically saying like, nothing happens in this movie. You're probably going to be really bored, but it's all about you to come up with the story. Who is this character? Who is that character? What is this relationship? Because everything in the film is ambiguous. And so it's kind of a brilliant marketing technique when you think about it, where they're saying like, you decide who these characters are. You decide what their relationships are. You decide what the story is. It's the movie where you decide what happens. I would love to see an art house movie marketed like that today. You could almost sell Paterson like that. It's the movie where you decide what it all means. But I've always really loved that trailer. I've never seen an art house film sold in that way before, as like a gimmick thing. But if anybody has the Criterion Blu-ray of that movie or the DVD, you might be able to find the trailer on YouTube probably. I mean, what can't you find on YouTube? But it's an interesting trailer, especially if you've seen the film. But it's Last Year at Marienbad. Watch the film because it's an interesting film, and yeah, check out the trailer too. It really tries to sell you on a completely different thing. Let's see, what else do we have here? I opted for the 2D Kubo only, as the reviews say the 3D is unnoticeable. Yeah, I've never seen any of the Leica stuff in 3D before. I'd like to, though. I've made a solemn oath. Hi, Jack. Glad you could join us. But I've made a solemn oath because I love Leica's work so much. Whatever they do next, I'm gonna go see it, because I've never seen a Leica Studios film in theaters before, but I'm gonna see the next one, damn it. And I want Henry Selick to release a new movie so badly as well. But apparently he's running into a lot of hiccups, a lot of delays. He was going to do one called The Shadow King, I believe it was called. It was going to be a stop-motion film about a boy with abnormally long fingers who can make shadow puppets, and he has to fight some kind of like evil spirit with his ability to create shadow puppets, something along those lines. Not a lot of details have been revealed, but it was going to be done for Disney, and from what I've read, it's rumored that they spent like $50 million developing this thing and then just recently canceled it. So I guess right now Henry Selick is trying to find other investors for the Shadow King, and he's also got 2 other projects he's trying to develop and get those made as well. But I really hope he does something soon, because it's been so long since he's made a film. His last movie was Coraline, and I love that movie so much, and I want to see something else from him, because he's one of the best directors working in animation. One of the best directors, period, I think, working right now. But it's a bummer, too, because he works in animation, whatever he does next, if he finally does get something into development, because animation is so time-consuming and labor-intensive, it's still going to be like 2 or 3 years before we see another film of his, and that's if he gets something going right away. So that's a bummer. But I hope, I hope he releases something, gets something going. And yeah, Leica Studios, I want to see their next thing as well. I'm really getting into stop-motion stuff. And yeah, just more animation. I've been watching a ton of animation. Oh, have you got around to seeing Baby Driver? Definitely one of the best movies this year. I'm actually planning on seeing Baby Driver on Sunday, I think is the plan. We were going to see it this week, but my brother and I, our schedules didn't really match up. But we should have some time to see it on Sunday. And then, yeah, a new episode of Twin Peaks on Sunday. So probably next stream, next Saturday, yeah, we'll be talking about Baby Driver and more Twin Peaks. Try to get into more of, storyline and theories and all those kinds of things. Is Paterson Jarmusch's new film? I've not heard of it. Yeah, Paterson is Jim Jarmusch's new film. I don't think it was produced for Amazon Studios, but I think it was one he made and that got distributed by Amazon Studios. So you can watch it on Amazon Prime right now. I'm still trying to figure out, the way everything works, because not everything you see like Amazon Studios presents it. I don't think that means they actually financed it or put up money for it. They just are acting as a distribution platform for that movie. But I think it says if it's an Amazon Studios original production, then that means, they did invest in it. I don't think this was a production from Amazon, but I think it's an Amazon presentation. So yeah, Jim Jarmusch, another one of the I guess like modern day, more esoteric filmmakers who is finding, a new method of distribution, a new way of getting his work out there. Somebody who was really never fitted into the studio mold. I guess now has a new opportunity to thrive with all of the new avenues that streaming and VOD platforms are opening up. So it's exciting to see that, so many directors are flocking to this new place, this new opportunity in the film industry. I'm hoping we're going to see a new thriving independent scene because of this. It's also the other film I'm talking about today. Don't know if you can hear that, but truck starting out there. The other film I'm talking about today, Okja. Yeah, that's another film that it was actually financed and distributed by Netflix, the new Bong Joon-ho movie. So we're seeing some exciting stuff, some really big changes in the industry, some new things happening, and it's exciting to see that as it's happening. It seems like it's been a while since we've really seen a major change in the industry, but we're in the process of seeing a major change happen. Let's see. Jack says, I haven't seen any of Jarmusch's films, but I really loved Paterson. Okay. Yeah, Paterson has been his most low-key film that I've seen. He's a very low-key director in general, but this one especially, is very quiet, very contemplative, very subtle and philosophical. It's also, I think, his most light-hearted film, his most tender film. Most of his other works, there's kind of been like I guess, sort of this cynical, nihilistic cool running through all of it. And this one doesn't really have any of that, it seems. This one just seems to be kind of a sweet, tender-hearted story just about people and the little interactions that they have and the precious little moments of life. Yeah, I think it's the sweetest Jim Jarmusch film that I've seen. Yeah, it really doesn't have any of that typical cynicism that I get from his work. It's really just genuine and kind and just about love and emotion and yeah, appreciating people and little moments of life and trying to absorb the beauty around you. Ghost Dog is a cool groove. That it is, yeah. Ghost Dog is a really good one. That's another one. There's some more tangible stuff to get a hold of in that one because it's like a blending of gangster movies and samurai movies. So there's a little bit more to gnash your teeth into in that one and talk about. But yeah, it is also, yeah, just very much about Forrest Whitaker just sort of hanging out and being cool and being a samurai assassin, a samurai hitman. Not your typical kind of like action movie. Very much about tone and place and character subtleties. But yeah, Paterson is Jarmusch's latest work. I believe he made it last year in 2016. Played at some festivals, got a lot of acclaim, and yeah, was just recently put out to stream on Amazon Prime. It's also available to rent or purchase through VOD. And yeah, I just watched it last night. And I maybe should have watched it earlier than that, earlier in the week, because I find that I'm still kind of trying to process it, still kind of trying to work out all of my feelings and my reactions to it. Because again, it's very low key and it's very subtle. When it was over, or even just as I was watching the movie, I found myself wondering, like, what is this film really about? What is it really trying to say? Like, I'm finding it kind of ethereal. I'm not really seeing a lot here. By the end, it did leave me with an emotional reaction. Those last few moments, the relationship that develops between the Adam Driver character and I don't remember the name of the actress, but she's like his wife or his girlfriend. The relationship that develops between them, like the tenderness and the love and the intimacy. And also the little interactions that he has with his friends at this bar that he goes to every night. Basically, the movie is just about this character who's played by Adam Driver. His name is Paterson. He lives in Paterson, New Jersey. He's a poet. He reads poetry, writes poetry in his notebook. Hasn't really worked up the nerve to actually publish any of his poetry. If there is like a narrative development to the movie, it's maybe that his girlfriend is trying to encourage him to publish some of this poetry, to try and get it out there. He's not sure he wants to do that. But basically, the film is just kind of about him going on his route every day, his routine that he repeats every day and night. He drives people around. He overhears conversations. He goes to a bar and has one single beer every night, takes his dog for a walk, has these brief little interactions with patrons at the bar, and then, yeah, his girlfriend has stuff that she's doing. She wants to buy a guitar. She wants to join a bake sale. And it's just... Oh, the actress's name is... Oh, God, I'm going to butcher this. Golshifta Farahani. Golshifta Farahani. I know I'm not saying that right, so sorry about that. But yeah, she was really good. I don't think I've ever seen her in anything else before. But yeah, it's basically just about these relationships, and there's not really a narrative arc to it. There's not really any big dramatic moments, maybe a few, but again, they're all very low key. And yeah, when the film was over, I did find myself thinking, I wonder what that was trying to say. I wonder what that was all about. And I've been thinking about it a lot since then. And I'm kind of starting to work it out a little bit, because it did affect me. But I'm trying to figure out exactly how it affected me. It's one that it's one that when it's over, it makes you want to see it again and search for more. But I want to give it some time to continue settling in my head, and then maybe go back to it and yeah, try and search for more. But it's a really interesting film, and there is something there. There is this sense of this very subtle, profound, poetic quality to it, but I wasn't sure I was quite able to grasp it just with the one viewing I gave it. But it is an interesting film. It's got some great performances. Adam Driver, yeah, doing another really interesting film with a really interesting director, inhabiting this very specific character. It's also very much a portrait, like all of Jarmusch's work. It's very much a portrait of its setting, Paterson, New Jersey, giving you a sense, yeah, of the people and the places. And yeah, I guess if anything, it's just about those quiet little moments in life, you know, that things don't have to be big and dramatic, that you can see beauty and you can see poetry just in an overheard conversation, a little look, a little moment. I guess because the Paterson character, he also writes these poems throughout the film, and they tend to be about very simple little things. You know, he writes a poem about a matchbook that he has in his home, and he writes a whole poem about this matchbook that turns into a love poem for his girlfriend. So I don't know, I guess it's about focusing on those little moments, those little details, and appreciating, yeah, the beauty and the poetry of life and all its small subtleties. That's kind of where I'm at right now. But yeah, again, because it examines, yeah, works, all of Jarmusch's films, I think, have a layer of philosophy to them as well. He's somebody, yeah, that is very immersed and enriched with culture and literature and poetry and music and art. So I think maybe because, or the beauty in the normal, yeah, that as well, yeah, just in normal everyday life, and not seeing it, yeah, as something, yeah, that is lacking in something or wanting for something more, but that, yeah, there is a beauty in just that normal everyday thing, that, yeah, there is something wonderful and perfect in that. Maybe. I'm still not quite sure, but yeah, I always feel like there are added layers and added complexities to a Jarmusch film, that because, yeah, I haven't read William Carlos Williams, the poet that Paterson references, the character, yeah, he's seen like reading William Carlos Williams poems. I've never read William Carlos Williams's work. I don't know a lot about poetry. I'm still kind of introducing myself, yeah, to a lot of philosophy. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of a huge base of reference that I'm not quite getting, but there is a very subtle emotional component that I do find myself connecting to, and really, yeah, I guess in being really touched by the characters and the subtle emotions. I mean, I was especially touched by the relationship between Paterson and his girlfriend, which I thought was very well observed and very tender and very sweet. And in those last little moments where they're just together and in love and content with one another, there is something very affecting about that and very sweet about that, and it does kind of leave you with a very warm, happy feeling that it's like, you know, things aren't so bad. If you can find someone you love and just be with that person, then everything else kind of floats away. So like I said, it's Jarmusch's sweetest movie, I think. His kindest, most warm-hearted movie. And it does leave you, yeah, or it left me with some kind of very subtle feeling of elation and happiness that I really liked. And that, yeah, I'm sort of left with in a lot of his movies, but yeah, his films can get pretty dark. But this was the lightest one, I thought, the happiest one, the most optimistic one. But again, very subtle, very low-key. I could definitely see somebody watching this and at the end of it just going, nothing happened. What was that all about? I sort of reacted to it that way too, but I feel like there is something more to it. There is a feeling, yeah, that is still with me, that I'm still trying to process. But it was an interesting film. And thinking back on it, yeah, I do think I really enjoyed it. I wasn't bored by it. I was definitely engaged, yeah, with with the characters and, yeah, the way it was examining repetitious routines. That it was trying to see beyond that and get something more out of it. So I would recommend it, especially for Jim Jarmusch fans, and yeah, for fans of more kind of like subtle kind of storytelling. If maybe you're a little worn out with all of these big, huge spectacles that we get every weekend, I think it can be kind of refreshing to get a small, little, intimate story like this. So I did enjoy it. And I don't know if I would rank it, and I hate saying that, rank films. I don't like ranking films, but I don't know if I would say it's one of my favorite of Jarmusch's films, but it does see him, yeah, I think operating in a slightly different mode and exploring more forms and, yeah, and more perspectives. It felt the most different of all of his films that I've seen. And yeah, I am eager to go back to it and try to process my reactions a little bit more and search for more, I guess, for more layers in it. But I did like it. I definitely did like it. I wish I had, yeah, more solid things to say about it. But yeah, like I said, I'm still kind of processing it, still thinking about a lot of things in it, especially with what happens, with the poems, because like I said, there's sort of a narrative development there of Paterson trying to decide whether or not he's going to publish this poetry of his, which yeah, doesn't go the direction you expect it to. And yeah, I find myself thinking about that a lot as well. But yeah, I recommend checking it out. If you have Amazon Prime, you can stream it right now. I think it's worth a look, and I'm glad that Amazon is, yeah, providing a platform for movies like this. So that you don't have to live, you know, in New York or LA or Chicago or a place like that to see this movie in a theater that you can just press a button, it's right there. You get art house in the comfort of your own home. But that's very convenient for somebody like me that lives in a small town where I'm definitely not going to get a movie like this playing in my theater, but I can still have access to stories like these from directors like Jim Jarmusch. So yeah, I'm finding a lot more to appreciate, yeah, in the digital revolution. I'm finding myself, yeah, getting more and more excited by the possibilities with this. Let's see what else we got here. Sasha. In film college, I made a trailer for Boys in the Hood, and my tutor thought I had submitted the actual real trailer. I've made loads, and think that's my best. Oh, interesting. Have you posted any of your trailers on YouTube or something? Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I used to, when I was in high school, yeah, I used to like imagining my own trailers for my favorite movies. I didn't really have any editing software or anything back then, so I never got to make any. But that can be fun sometimes, yeah, to present your own interpretation of a film. Because basically that's what a trailer should be, is like a condensed form of the tone and the emotion of a film into just like 2 minutes. We tend to see a lot of like just repetitious trailers, just it's the same thing over and over again with the same music, the same beats. It seems trailers now, the object is to make every movie seem exactly like every other movie. But every once in a while you'll see a really good trailer that gets at just what a film, specifically what it is, and the kind of experience you can expect from it. There's some good trailers out there, though. I think one of the most groundbreaking trailers was Jean-Luc Godard's trailer for Breathless, which Godard actually cut himself, and it basically is like it's like the playfulness and the spontaneity and the tone of Breathless condensed down into about 90 seconds, 2 minutes. And he really changed the way trailers were edited, because it's got a very fast editing rhythm. And normally before that, trailers were just kind of like, you get a scene from the movie, you get a few title cards saying like, never before in the history of the cinema have you seen anything like this, and stuff kind of like that. And you get another brief scene. And Godard really changed it, yeah, into an art form of its own, where you basically try to present a condensed version of what the movie is. So yeah, another trailer to check out, the Breathless trailer, for Godard's Breathless. It says on IMDb that Pulp Fiction has 100 F-words. There are much more than that. The record is changing all the time. I think right now the record is held by The Wolf of Wall Street. I think there's something like 500, 600 F-words in that one, in a 3-hour runtime. I don't know if anyone's beat it yet. Probably Scorsese will beat it with his next one. He breaks his own record all the time. I think it was Goodfellas for a while, then it was Casino, and I think Casino held the record for the longest time. And then, yeah, he just broke it. He might have broken it with The Departed, and then he broke it with Wolf of Wall Street. So yeah, he loves his F-words. Is Frankenweenie sad? I'm still mourning the passing of my dog, now 5 years later, so I'm scared to see that. Gosh, it's been a while since I've seen Frankenweenie. I think it is kind of sad. Gosh, I don't really remember. I don't know if I can tell you, yeah, fully accurately. I'm sure it is. It's a Disney movie, so they've got to put some tearjerker stuff in there. So I'm sure it does have its sad moments, but I don't remember exactly. I'd kind of like to see it again. Yeah, just with how much I've been getting into stop motion lately. Yeah, I'd like to go back to some of those Tim Burton ones. The ones he actually directed. Not Nightmare Before Christmas, not Coraline. That's Henry Selick. I still see people, like even on Letterboxd when I was going through stuff on that. I've been using Letterboxd a lot recently. But even when I was going on that, I was still seeing people saying, like, Coraline is Tim Burton's best movie. It's not Tim Burton. But yeah, he did actually direct some stop-motion stuff. Frankenweenie and Corpse Bride. I'd like to revisit Fantastic Mr. Fox as well. Some of Wes Anderson's stop-motion stuff. It's been a while since I've seen those. And he's got the new one coming out as well. Isle of Dogs, which is another stop-motion one. Yeah, I just listened to Henry Selick's commentary on Coraline, and he was saying, yeah, how it was actually Henry Selick himself who did the stop-motion effects for Life Aquatic, like the leopard shark, I think it was, and a few of the other like exotic animals in that one that are done through stop-motion. That was Henry Selick who did those, and I guess he was originally going to be the stop-motion director on Fantastic Mr. Fox. That he was going to collaborate with Wes Anderson, but he ended up getting financing for Coraline right as Wes Anderson was going to start doing Fantastic Mr. Fox, so he couldn't do it. So Wes Anderson just did it himself. But yeah, Isle of Dogs. Fantastic Mr. Fox was almost a collaboration between Wes Anderson and Henry Selick, which would have been cool, but I'm glad he got to make Coraline. But yeah, I want to check out Tim Burton stop motion, Wes Anderson stop motion. I know there's some other stuff too. There's one on Amazon Prime called A Town Called Panic, which I think is a French stop motion animated movie. I want to check that one out too. I've heard that's good. I don't have Amazon Prime, but I'm getting Paterson now. We'll have it in 7 minutes. So thank you for bringing it to my attention. Hey, glad to be of service. Hope you enjoy it. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, Fantastic Mr. Fox is one of my top 10 favorite films. Wow. Oh, and Sasha has Paterson now. So thank you again. You're welcome. Oh, Fantastic Mr. Fox is perfect on Criterion Blu-ray too. That's right. It is on Criterion. I think every Wes Anderson film is available through Criterion. I think everything except Grand Budapest Hotel, which is actually the only Wes Anderson movie I haven't seen. So yeah, I'm sure they're going to be releasing Budapest Hotel soon. I mean, they've got Anderson's whole filmography in the collection, so I don't think they're going to miss out on this one. But yeah, I need to... Gosh, do I want to try and add another Blu-ray to my wish list for the upcoming sale? Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. Oh, no wonder the stop motion in Life Aquatic is great. Yep, that's Henry Selick, the master. Let's see what else we got here. Thoughts on the Blade Runner. Oh, thoughts on Blade Runner and the sequel. Okay. Blade Runner is one of my favorite movies. I've always loved the hell out of that movie. Yeah, I think just visually, stylistically, tonally, atmospherically, it's one of the best movies ever made. I think if you're very story-oriented and you want like a strong narrative to a film, Blade Runner's really not your movie. It's really not about story. It is very much more about just setting a tone, building an atmosphere, and creating a stylistic piece more than anything. And those tend to be the movies that I respond to the most strongly. Which I'm kind of disappointed, because my brother was watching a thing on YouTube. I think it was the Red Letter Media. They did a video on Blade Runner, and they were actually very critical of it. I was kind of shocked to hear it. I'd never really heard anybody like have such negative things to say about Blade Runner before. I was actually getting sort of angry listening to it, because I love that movie so much. I was getting sort of worked up. But yeah, they were really picking apart the story and the characters, and pointing out that not a lot happens. There's a very loose narrative connectivity to everything, and they were pointing out plot holes and inconsistencies and everything, which I guess they have a point if you really are somebody that watches a film specifically for the story and for the narrative and for the character arcs. Then Blade Runner really isn't going to be your thing. But yeah, I'm somebody that really responds to the atmosphere that a film creates, the tone that it sets, and the style and the personality that it expresses. Obviously, I can get into a story and I can really respond to stories, but I do really love films like Blade Runner that are more tonal pieces, more kind of stylistic pieces. And Blade Runner, I think, is one of the best. I mean, like the cinematography by Jordan Cronenweth, I think is stunning all the way through. The costume design, the production design, the music and the sound design, the special effects, I think still look amazing, even though the film was done in like 1981, 1982. I still think that movie looks incredible. I think it looks better than most movies made today. Looks 10 times better than Gods of Egypt. So I think Blade Runner has aged very, very well. It's still one of my favorites. I love the hell out of it. And there's like 5 different versions I own on Blu-ray, and each one of them has something interesting in it. I used to be able to tell you every single little difference between all 5 versions. It's been a little while. I don't think I could do that anymore. But yeah, I still love that movie. And I am very excited for the sequel. I wasn't at first. When I first heard of it, I was very sad. I've never really wanted a sequel to Blade Runner. I thought it was just fine. And it's open-ended, and it's sort of ambiguous in the way it ends. But I'm okay with that. I just like things, just to be what they are and just leave it at that. But then when Denis Villeneuve was announced as the director, then I actually started getting excited for it. And now that I've seen all of Villeneuve's other work, I've seen like Prisoners and especially Arrival and Enemy, which both of those I think are masterpieces. Now I'm very, very excited for Blade Runner 2049. I think it has a lot of potential to be something very, very cool. And I think Villeneuve just has very strong cinematic instincts. I think he has, just a command of his craft. I think he thinks everything through very carefully. And I trust his instincts. I trust the decisions that he's going to make. And I've read in interviews, he said like when he read the script, he was surprised how good it was. He was surprised how emotional it was. He was surprised how much it really expanded on the world and still tried to do its own thing. He's talked about, how he doesn't just want to try and imitate the original Blade Runner. He wants to do his own thing with it and do something different and specific with this one, which is another thing I'm very excited for. It's not just going to be a repeat or a cheap imitation of Ridley Scott. It's going to be something new, something very specifically Denis Villeneuve. So I think it has potential. I'm staying cautiously optimistic. It could end up being awful. And generally when I get very excited for new movies, I'm always disappointed. So I'm trying to keep my excitement in check. But I think it has potential. I think it could end up being very good. I hope it ends up being very good. And the fact that Denis Villeneuve is behind it and that they're really giving him control and the producers are saying like, do your thing with it. We're going to let you handle this. That gives me a lot of hope for it. That makes me think this could end up being something very cool. But yeah, I'm going to go see it. I'm excited for it and I hope it ends up being good. But we'll just have to wait and see. Have you seen Manchester by the Sea? The portrayal of the working class is stunning, but it might be the most depressing film I've ever seen. It made me cry several times. I have not seen Manchester by the Sea yet, but yeah, that is another one that got distribution from Amazon Studios, so that is available to stream. So I will probably watch that one at some point in the near future on my brother's Amazon Prime account. Yeah, that one's on my watch list. I still need to see Embrace of the Serpent, which somebody mentioned last week. And yeah, that's also on Amazon Prime. I want to watch that one. And there was one other one, too, that I was really interested in watching. But I'll put those two at the top of the list. Embrace of the Serpent and Manchester by the Sea. I'll see if I can get some time to watch those. Oh, Fences was fantastic. Especially in the sea of Marvel and CGI we have now. That's the Denzel Washington movie, right? Denzel Washington and Viola Davis, I think. Haven't seen that one yet, but yeah, it was a big one during award season. So yeah, I don't know. I'll definitely I'll check it out if I can, but that wasn't one I was too keen on. I don't know. Just what I saw of it didn't really get me too excited. It seems like more a film about performances and actors, which, not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just kind of like, I tend to be more about the director and the vision behind a thing. So those tend to be the films I really gravitate towards. But yeah, a good movie is a good movie. So yeah, I don't know if Fences will be one I watch in the near future, but yeah, I'll certainly keep an eye out for it. Oh, Sasha, okay. Made trailers back in the day on VHS. Remember those? Yeah, I have I don't know why I said it like that. Made trailers back in the day on VHS. Remember those? I don't have them now and would not know how to digitize them if I did. Yeah, of course I have VHS. I have a ton of VHS tapes. My brother and I, we collect VHS. We love going to thrift shops, local thrift shops, and browsing through the old VHS tapes. You can find some pretty interesting stuff in a thrift shop VHS collection, and we certainly have found some interesting stuff. What about Scarface? Oh, the remake of Scarface? If you mean the remake of Scarface, that I'm a little less optimistic for. I don't know how the new Scarface is going to turn out. It still seems to be very early in the developmental phase. They've cast and recast the lead role several times. They've hired and fired and hired new directors several times. The script has gone through several different drafts at this point. I think the Coen brothers are currently in the process of doing a rewrite on it. So, I mean, with the Coen brothers, there's potential for something interesting there, but yeah, I don't know. I guess the Brian De Palma Scarface, that was a remake. The one in the 80s, it was a remake of a film from the 30s, so I don't know, it's been about 3 decades, so maybe it is time to remake it. I'm not sure. Certainly, it seems like the situation with the drug trade in the U.S. has changed quite a bit, so maybe there's potential to update the story and do a modern-day version of that one. I don't know. I think it would really depend on the script they get, the director they hire, and the actor they hire. I don't know if you could get as good of a trifecta as the 80s one, though, because you got Brian De Palma, Al Pacino, and Oliver Stone. And I mean, those are 3 of the best you could possibly get at that time when they were like at the height of their talents. Oliver Stone, yeah, just was writing the best scripts he'd ever written. Brian De Palma was directing the best films he's ever directed. And Al Pacino, yeah, was just doing amazing performance after amazing performance. I don't know if it were done today, if you could really get that same perfect concentration of elements like that. But who knows? I think they're looking at Diego Luna to star in it. I don't know if he's going to end up being the actual star. I don't know if the Coen brothers will end up being the script they go with. Yeah, and I think they just fired another director off of it, which, hearing all of that doesn't give me hope for it. It sounds like that's a lot of studio meddling, where it's a committee trying to control the thing rather than just one artistic vision. So that makes me kind of pessimistic. If it's going to work, I would say they would probably just need to pick a director, give them control, say, okay, make the thing. Do what you're going to do with it. Like what they're doing with Blade Runner 2049. That gives me hope that they hired a great director and said, like, okay, we have confidence in you. Do your thing. That gives me hope that Blade Runner 2049 could end up being very good. Scarface, I don't have that kind of hope for, because it just seems like every couple months it's just like somebody else is stepping in saying, like, no, we don't want that. Get out of here. We'll hire a new scriptwriter. We'll hire a new director. Those don't tend to turn out very well. But I don't know. We'll see if it even ends up happening. It could end up just being canceled again, because I think they've been spending quite a few years developing this thing, trying to get it going. Hasn't happened yet. We'll see. Let's see. If you're going through a stop-motion phase, I would love your opinion on the Pinchcliffe Grand Prix. Oh, that's a Scandinavian film, isn't it? I think I watched that one back in... Gosh, did I watch that one in film school, or did you show that one to me? So I know Brynjar in the chat right now. He was a foreign exchange student that stayed with my family a few years ago, back when we were in high school. I can't remember if you showed that one to me, Brynjar, or if I watched it in film school. But it sounds like I have seen that one, though. I'm having trouble remembering, though, so I apologize. Yeah, if you could clarify it for me, then maybe I would be better equipped to answer. I'm sorry, my memory, yeah, it sucks these days. I've seen too many movies. I have seen too many movies. Stuff is starting to get forced out to make way for more stuff. Let's see. Oh, I used the Bram Stoker's Dracula score for my Untouchables trailer. Raging Bull was one of my best trailers, too. Do you still have a tape with all of these trailers? I'm kind of curious now. Oh, but you said you don't know how to digitize them. Sounds like it'd be fun, though. One piece of music you can use for just about any trailer is, oh, what's that guy's name? Is it Clint Mansell? His score for The Fountain. I'm pretty sure it's Clint Mansell. His score for The Fountain, yeah, I hear all the time in movie trailers, and you can pretty much use it for just about anything. When they re-released Blade Runner, when they did the final cut of Blade Runner, guess what they used on the score? They used the score for The Fountain. That, what's the bit you always hear? That da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da. I still hear that pop up all the time in trailers. It's like a dramatic shortcut. It's such a good score that's like, just put it under anything and it makes it seem incredible and epic and dramatic. It's sort of like the score for Requiem for a Dream. Put that over anything, it'll make it seem horrifying and devastating. Let's see. Eddie Moriarty, how's your own filmmaking going, Henry? Have you been writing much lately, or do you have any projects you are currently working on? I have one script that I've been working on for a long time. I'm trying to finish it. And yeah, I've got a few other ideas I'd like to start writing. I've been really lazy, slacking on my script writing lately. I'm trying to get back into it. Felix and I have made a pledge that every week now we're going to send each other stuff we've been working on throughout the week, whatever pages we've written or whatever kind of thing we've been trying to work on. Every week we're going to send each other the stuff we've been doing. So that's kind of a good motivator that, you know, like by this day I've got to have something written so that I can email it off to him. So hopefully that'll make me a little bit more productive. But yeah, I've got this like this script that I've been writing that's inspired by punk rock music and the Grimm fairy tales and a few other things. I'm at like 161 pages on it, and I'm still not done. I'm still writing that one. It's been one that, yeah, I've just been working on for ages now, and I'm eager to get it finished and move on to something else, but it's not finished yet. Still trying to get that one finished, yeah, and then move on to something else, because I've got like 3 or 4 ideas that I'd like to move on to, but I hate leaving something undone. Oh, I saw Tim Burton's short stop-motion Vincent on YouTube, and it's a delight. That was one of his first things, wasn't it? I haven't seen Vincent. Yeah, I'd like to check that one out. Tim Burton, I think his style is better suited to animation than live action. I think of all live action directors, he's able to get a look that feels closest to animation. Or, yeah, like some kind of gothic animated film. And I really like that about his work. Like Sleepy Hollow, I think, is wonderful to look at. It's got such an extreme gothic style. All of the color grading and, yeah, the palette and the pale skin tones on all of the actors and the very deep, rich blacks and the extreme angles on all of the production design. It's wonderful to look at. Tim Burton can sort of be lacking in the storytelling department. Like Sleepy Hollow, I think, is a film that just narratively it really wanders and meanders and doesn't always hold my interest, but it's always wonderful to look at. So I think he's a little bit better suited to animation. Let's see. Another one that comes to mind is Jean-Pierre Jeunet. I think his films... Tim Burton's come the closest to being like some kind of gothic comic book. Or not comic book, but like a gothic cartoon. And Jeunet, I think, is the closest I've ever seen to a filmmaker who makes live action that looks like a comic book or a graphic novel. It's kind of a subtle difference, I guess, but when I watch Genet's work, I think of like great French comic books and graphic novels and stuff like that. When I watch Tim Burton, yeah, I think of stop motion, or I think of like cartoons like that. But I love directors like that. I think live action and like physical things and like gravity and all of the stuff that you're constrained by when you're doing live action, I think that's sort of a restriction, and animation just opens it up to where you can do anything. That to me would be the ideal, is to make live action feel like animation. Then the world's the limit. You can do anything. But that's hard to do. Let's see. Hopefully Criterion will fix the aspect ratio flaw with their Grand Budapest Hotel. I haven't heard about that. I have heard that there's shifting aspect ratios in Grand Budapest Hotel, that some of it's in anamorphic, some of it's in like a European widescreen, and then other bits are in like the full frame Academy ratio. But I'm guessing like the Blu-ray like didn't do the correct aspect ratios? I haven't heard about this. But that kind of shit bugs me. I hate when they mess with aspect ratios, yeah, and what the director intended with the picture. So yeah, hopefully they do fix that, because that would bug me if I watch the movie, if it's not shown in the correct ratios. Oh, talking about going back to Blade Runner, was that Mr. Plinkett, meaning was it in character? Because that might explain the negativity towards Blade Runner. No, it wasn't Mr. Plinkett. I don't really watch Red Letter Media. My brother really loves Red Letter Media. He's always watching the stuff they do. But it wasn't Mr. Plinkett. It was two other guys. I don't know their names. But like one had a beard. And I think the title of the video was like RE:view. So I think it's like a show that they do where they talk about older movies instead of new releases. I'm not exactly sure. But I know it wasn't Mr. Plinkett, because I've seen those videos. And those are funny. I did enjoy those. But I don't know. Overall, yeah, I don't know if it's just because I don't always agree with Red Letter Media, which would make me seem very petty. Because I'm always about like, yeah, if someone disagrees with you, that's fine. But that Blade Runner video was making me kind of angry, I have to admit. I guess I still have a lot of maturing to do. But yeah, I don't know. I've never really watched a lot of Red Letter Media stuff. But like I said, my brother loves their work. And they are good at what they do. They're very articulate and obviously very intelligent. Jack Chit Cutie, sorry on the name again. Style greater than story for me. I don't care what my media teacher says. Yeah, that was another thing they tried to drill into my head when I was in film school. It's all about story. It's all about story. And I resisted that as much as I could. It's always been about style for me, but style as it reflects story. You know, style can be very pointless and superfluous, I have to admit. But when style reflects story, then that to me is what cinema really is. Visual storytelling. Sasha says, I have Mark Kermode's Gods of Egypt review to watch after the stream ends. The more he dislikes the film, the more passionate he gets. So I'm expecting greatness from him. I'll have to look into that, yeah. People are always saying, like, oh, have you seen Mark Kermode's review on this or that? And I haven't seen any of his stuff yet, so maybe I'll have to watch that too. Oh, regarding Fences, it's raw human drama. Okay. I always say you should never judge a film before you've seen it, but I still catch myself doing that all the time. So yeah, I guess I sort of did that with Fences. But yeah, if I do see it, yeah, I'll be open about it. Oh, Brian De Palma wrote the opening crawl of Star Wars: A New Hope. I heard about that. I haven't been able to confirm that. But yeah, that's interesting if he actually did. Brian De Palma is the last person you would expect being involved in like a sci-fi thing, especially Star Wars. But yeah, I guess all those guys were like pretty much like always hanging out together and helping each other with scripts and movies and whatever. It was a pretty close-knit artistic community in Hollywood back in the 70s. So I guess it's possible. I mean, yeah, John Milius, yeah, he worked on basically everyone's stuff. There's another guy, another writer, Matthew Robbins. He's sort of like one of the great unsung heroes of that era. He did like tons of rewrites on some of the biggest movies of that era, like Matthew Robbins, and he worked with a writing partner. I forget his name, but yeah, Matthew Robbins, going off of what I read in Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, yeah, like he did uncredited work on Jaws, on Star Wars, on basically all of the biggest films of that era, and he's almost completely unknown. Sort of sad. He's been getting some dues lately, though. Like Guillermo del Toro has been working with him a lot. Like Matthew Robbins was one of the co-writers on Crimson Peak, and he actually got a screen credit, so I think he's starting to get some of the recognition he deserves. Let's see. Brian De Palma's underrated masterpiece has finally been released on region-free Blu-ray, only here in the UK. I was so happy to find it. Which underrated masterpiece, though? Talking about Scarface or something else? Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure which movie you're referring to there. Oh, Brynjar, I tried getting it when I was there, but we never got to it. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was registering something when you mentioned the Pinchcliffe Grand Prix. I remember, yeah. I couldn't remember if you got me to watch that, but I think I did eventually see it in film school, one of the classes there. But yeah, it's been a long time. And I was only sort of semi-conscious when I was in class at the same time, so I don't really remember it so well. I've never been one that has really functioned too well in a classroom setting. Even if it's all about film, I still find myself nodding off. I'm just not someone who's programmed for school. Oh, financially, Blade Runner 2049 is set up for failure with a $200 million budget. I think it'll be absolutely great, but it may bomb hard. Adjusted for inflation, the original cost $65 million. That was still pretty big back in the day. I guess, yeah, I don't know exactly how inflation works, but movies didn't cost a lot. It wasn't until the 80s when, yeah, special effects like computer technology and all this other stuff, and marketing, and not just domestic marketing, but also overseas marketing, international marketing. The industry really changed in the 80s, and the overhead started becoming much, much bigger. I guess it's a complicated and kind of boring affair, just talking about numbers. But stuff really changed in the industry in the 80s, and movies started costing astronomical amounts. Like before the 80s, like movies never cost more than like $40 million. Like it was almost unheard of that a film would actually cost more than $40 million. which even adjusted for inflation is not a lot. But yeah, now, I mean, there are movies being made for $500 million, which I can't even conceive of where all that money's going. Maybe just to Robert Downey Jr., I'm not sure. Or Hugh Jackman. These actors that desperately want to go off and do other movies, but Disney's just trying to keep them into these superhero characters. Poor guys. But, hey, yeah, they're making $100 million, so I'd be able to live with it. Let's see what else we got here. I do need to talk about Okja, so I'll get to that in a second. Oh, Vincent. Yeah, I think it's his first. It's his first. I think it's narrated by Vincent Price. That would make sense if it's called Vincent. Yeah, Vincent Price had cameos in most of his early films. I think Edward Scissorhands was Vincent Price's last role. And you can sort of tell if you look at him in Edward Scissorhands, he's very weak and very frail. He didn't have much left in him by that point. But yeah, it was nice he got to do one last role, get to be in one last like great movie. It was a nice tribute to him. You can tell Tim Burton clearly, yeah, has a lot of love and affection for Vincent Price and the influence that his movies have had on him. What are your thoughts on Steve McQueen, the director? I think he is one of the best filmmakers alive. I would agree with that. I've admired every film he's done so far. Hunger, I think I responded to the most strongly. I think there's some brilliant directorial choices in that one. And yeah, a real daring in the way in the way he decides to present time and space in that one, and in letting moments play out and not doing a lot of cutting and trying to condense things, but in just letting it open up and play out in real time. It's pretty daring. I mean, I think as film goers we've gotten pretty impatient, and so yeah, when a movie tries to stop and present real time to us in that way, it's a little bit of a shock. And it seems like that's something he stuck with for his other films as well, in Shame, and in 12 Years a Slave, which I was really glad to see that movie did so well, that 12 Years a Slave did as well as it did, because it is a movie that takes a lot of chances, doesn't do the normal studio thing or the normal Hollywood thing. It really tries to go for a sense of realism and a sense of artistry and human tragedy. And yeah, he does do a lot of the things that he does in his other movies, and just letting time play out, letting space develop in the narrative. Some of the most memorable moments in that film, I thought, were moments where McQueen just sort of plants the camera and lets a scene happen. The moment that sticks most strongly to me, and there are some really difficult moments in that movie and some heartbreaking, horrifying moments, but the one that sticks out most strongly to me and that actually affected me most deeply was just kind of a simple shot. It's after, I'm trying to remember the exact context of the scene, but it's after the Chiwetel Ejiofor character. He's punished for something and he's nearly hung, but yeah, they put a rope around his neck and pull it up on a tree branch, and then they just sort of leave him there with his feet kind of like just the tips of his toes touching the ground basically, and they just leave him hanging there. And there's just this one shot that holds on him for several minutes, it feels like, and you just sort of watch him like just struggle to breathe as he's just standing there and just kind of quietly suffering. And the thing that I thought was most brilliant about that shot is the storytelling that happens in it. It's not just him there sitting on the branch with, struggling to breathe. After a while, it's like you see everyone has left the background. The space is empty. It's just him there. And then once everything calms down, all of the other people on the plantation, the other slaves, they start to peek out and they see, oh, it's okay now. And everyone starts coming back out and the day continues. The children continue playing. everyone continues on their chores. It's like, this is normal. This is just something you live with in this world, and nobody even pays attention to him. That I found extremely powerful. That there's this human suffering happening, and everyone else is just kind of like, that's what we have to deal with. We still have to get on with our day. That really struck me. That really hit me. It's a moment that still stands out very strongly in my head, and I don't think any other director would hold on a shot that long and just let a subtle, powerful thing like that just happen very simply, very subtly. But it really had an impact on me. I'm trying to think like if he's got any more movies coming out, because I'm very eager, to see another film from McQueen. I think he's working on a television series right now, actually. I don't know if he has any films in the works. But I forget what the television show is. But I think he is. I would agree with you. I think he's one of the best working right now. So very interested in seeing what he does next. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, I'm afraid that I absolutely loathe 12 Years a Slave. Wow. Pretty daring thing to say. Why? I'm curious to know why. Master Barry, definitely not a film to watch repeatedly. Would absolutely agree with that. All of McQueen's films, not ones that are so easy to watch multiple times. They are very hard-hitting. Yeah, and I think it's because he never really tries to push things. He's all about, just realism and trying to get at how real people react in these kinds of situations. Not pushing it really highly, not trying to go melodramatic, but just trying to go very real and very honest. Which, of course, makes it even more difficult to watch. But he is incredible, I think. Oh, he's working on a film remake of an old TV series called Widows. Interesting. Sasha says about 12 Years a Slave, Oscar fodder and spoon-feeding the audience. I would disagree with that. I did not get that feeling from the film at all. I saw the movie with my dad when it came out. I saw it in theaters with my dad, who didn't react so strongly to it. He doesn't tend to like many movies anyway, but I think he had kind of the same reaction, that it was just kind of like, it was another movie trying to say like, how horrible slavery was, which, I guess that has been seen in movies before. And I mean, it seems like kind of a self-evident thing. Like, obviously slavery is horrible. But I don't know. I thought McQueen gave it a new kind of resonance, and really tried to focus in on the human suffering of it and just the human impact. I didn't get an Oscar fodder vibe from it. I really connected to the humanism of it. So I would disagree with that. I thought it was a pretty powerful movie. And I definitely don't think it was spoon-feeding the audience. That shot I mentioned, I don't think it's really trying to emphasize anything there. I don't think it's trying to say, like, look how horrible this is. I think it is just trying to say, like, this is what it's like. And also McQueen, his empathy is evident in everything, that he never dismisses anybody as just being a monster. He tries to get at how everyone suffers in some way, even the Michael Fassbender character. I guess on the surface he would just appear to be like this evil slave owner, but I think McQueen is also trying to get at how that character is suffering as well, because he is in love with the Lupita Nyong'o character, but because of the time in which he lives, he can't be in love with her. That's a taboo. That's forbidden. He can't even admit to himself that that's how he feels. And it turns him into just that awful monster that he is. But I think McQueen is just as sympathetic with that character as he is with all of the other characters. You read interviews with him, I mean, yeah, he doesn't talk about the film in terms of like these characters are good, these characters are evil. He feels like every character has a human quality, and he wanted to try and empathize with all of them. There was one interview I read where he was saying like, yeah, I feel really sorry for the Michael Fassbender character. And the person who was interviewing him was like actually shocked, like, but he's a slave owner. How could you feel sorry for him? And his response, I think, is really is, it reveals who he is as a person and who he is as an artist. He responded to that by saying, but he's a human being. And I think that's a powerful statement to make, that, yeah, as horrible as that guy is, McQueen still saw him as a human being. And shit, my phone's going off. Kind of spoiled the moment there. I don't know who's calling me, but I'm not going to answer it because that would be rude. But yeah, McQueen, I think, is an incredibly humanist, incredibly empathetic director. And that's what I think makes his work so powerful, is that he doesn't dismiss anybody. He really tries to get at the human qualities of every character. Oh, much too graphic. I could not bear 12 Years a Slave. That's a fair assessment. Yeah, I've reacted to some movies that way myself. And yeah, if a movie's too much for you, it's too much for you. That's, I guess, a decision we all make for ourselves. And yeah, if yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how you reacted to a movie. But yeah, I felt it was justified, and I felt it served a purpose. But yeah, not everyone's gonna agree with me. But yeah, I could certainly understand that. I could understand that with all of McQueen's movies. Hunger, Shame, 12 Years a Slave. They are not easy films to watch. And yeah, I guess it's sort of like me with Michael Haneke. He's the one that always comes up when, yeah, I'm talking about movies that are too difficult to watch. Like, Haneke's movies are very frequently just too much for me to handle. And I could certainly understand McQueen's movies being too much for people to handle as well. I'm going to take one last look at the chat here, see what else is coming up. I do need to talk about Okja, the other film in the other film that was supposed to be the subject of the video. But some good questions being asked. Has the stream been going on for long? Finished talking about Paterson? I asked your opinion on it during a stream a couple of months ago. Yeah, and I finally saw it, and I did already talk about it. I'm sorry. But I did like it. It's one that still, yeah, it's still kind of sitting with me, and that I'm still kind of processing. It's one I want to rewatch at some point down the line. But I did like it. Yeah, it's a very quietly touching movie. A very, very subtly philosophical, poetic movie about little moments in life. Oh, pretty sure, Sasha says, pretty sure that Vincent, the short film, is on the Nightmare Before Christmas Blu-ray. Also the original short Frankenweenie, too. I've been thinking about getting that Blu-ray, too. But I can't spend money. I cannot spend any more money. Let's see. Oh, talking about Red Letter Media, Jay is the name of the one with the beard. Okay, then I think Jay was in that Blade Runner video that I saw bits of when my brother was watching it. Oh, and the Brian De Palma movie you were talking about was Casualties of War. Okay. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that one. I remember really liking it when I saw it, but I need to revisit it. It's been a long time. Like I said, my memory just doesn't seem to be what it used to be. I have trouble remembering a lot of stuff that I watched from way back when. Let's see. Oh, True Detective. True Detective Season 1 is an 8-hour film on television. Very cinematic in its look, and it was shot on film. Yeah, I've been wanting to watch True Detective. Haven't seen it yet, but yeah, I'm always hearing great stuff about it. I'll have to see if I can get around to that one soon as well. I still need to... Oh, I fell out of watching Oz, because you were telling me to watch Oz. I watched like 4 episodes, and I haven't watched one in a little while. I need to get back into that. Try and finish that series up. Yeah, and then I need to see The Wire, and I haven't seen Breaking Bad, True Detective. I'm way behind on television. Jack says, I actually enjoy watching well-made films which are depressing and disturbing. In general, yes, I do as well. I like exploring that darker side of human nature, but I have to admit, some films hit me a little too hard. Michael Haneke being an example of that. Yeah, some movies, I guess, just hit in a personal way that is very difficult for me to handle. And it's weird sometimes, the movies which end up doing it. Like, I love the films of Mike Leigh, but every once in a while I'll see a Mike Leigh film that is just too much for me, that is just too sad. Just too real and too sad in a way that I'm not quite able to handle emotionally. I just tried watching his film All or Nothing, which stars Timothy Spall and, oh, what's her name? Great actress from Happy Go Lucky. Sally Hawkins. Yeah, and a few others that he's made several films with. I started that one, and God, it was too much for me. I don't know, I guess those are the kind of people that I know really well, and maybe that's just a kind of a place in life economically that I've experienced firsthand. I'm still kind of living in it. The area I'm living in is very rural, very working class, and I recognized a lot of those attitudes, those kind of characters where, yeah, just the rage you feel, the anger, and the way you lash out at family and friends. It hit way too close to home for me. I couldn't bear to watch too much of All or Nothing. I actually had to turn that one off just because I didn't like the way it was making me feel. I had the same reaction to Steven Soderbergh's Bubble, this little movie he made with non-professional actors. Yeah, that one. It's another one that hit way too hard. I felt like there's like a young male character in it who's sort of just like, he's just sort of unambitious and kind of hopeless and stuck in this go nowhere job. I think watching it, I felt like, oh God, that's me. That's how I really am. Not the way I see myself. I see myself as, yeah, being an artist. I'm destined for great things. I'm gonna make movies. And then I watched that movie. I think it frightened me. Made me feel like, oh God, this is what I really am. This is the life I'm really living. That one kind of sent me into an existential panic. That was also one that was very difficult for me to handle. So yeah, it's weird sometimes, the movies that do it to you. Let's see. Whoop. Are you familiar with the films of Danish director Anders Thomas Jensen? His film Adam's Apples is a particular favorite. It's an incredibly dark but hilarious black comedy. I don't know if you were the one that originally recommended his movies to me, but I have seen a couple of Jensen's films. I saw Adam's Apples and I saw The Green Butcher. Green Butchers. Yeah, I saw both of those, and yeah, would absolutely agree with you. Very, very dark films, very hilarious black comedies, and very unexpectedly sweet as well. They're the kind of movies you would never expect to have happy endings, but they do, and they leave you sort of happy despite all of the horrible, depressing, disturbing things that happen over the course of the story. But yeah, he's very good. Sort of makes these impossible, it pulls off these impossible shiftings of tone. Yeah, going from dark black comedy and then, yeah, going to heartwarming drama. I would not expect that to work, but yeah, he really pulled it off. So, I don't know if it was you who also recommended his most recent film, Men in Chicken, but that's one I have written down on my list over here. I still haven't been able to see it, but it is on the list. And if you were the one that recommended those to me, thank you. Yeah, I did really like those. Oh, talking about 12 Years a Slave. In the UK, it received a 12 age rating, mainly due to the BBFC feeling that younger audiences should know about the horrors of the slave trade. I think that's justified. It's like how they show, like, Schindler's List in high schools and like Saving Private Ryan. It's like, yeah, it's the real world, you know. Can't really sugarcoat it. That's the stuff human beings are capable of. It's important to acknowledge it and to know, like, that's the kind of shit we should make sure never happens again. Oh, your phone looked almost as old as mine. Love it. Yeah, thank you. I have never owned a smartphone in my life. This is the second phone I've ever owned. It's a flip phone. Makes me feel like I'm on Star Trek. Yeah, I had another track phone that was even older than this, but that one broke. I just flipped it open one day. It split in half, so I had to get a new one. And this is my new phone. Oh, such poetic decality that McQueen has, indeed. That scene you just described stuck with me, too. Oh, yeah, from 12 Years a Slave. It's the same with that scene in Shame, in which Carey Mulligan sings New York, New York, and she glares at Fassbender, and you kind of understand what's going on between the two of them. Just beautiful. Yeah, there's at least one moment like that in all of McQueen's work. Just this really long, extended moment that makes you just go, holy crap. Yeah, the scene in 12 Years a Slave, yeah, the New York, New York bit in Shame, and I would say two moments in Hunger really stuck with me. One, the extended conversation that takes place between Fassbender and, what is his name? Liam Cunningham, I think is the actor's name. He plays the priest in Hunger. The really long conversation that takes place between the two of them, that's like 10 minutes long and done in just one single shot. The other moment that really sticks with me is an extended scene, again done in just one shot, of a guard cleaning up the urine in the hallway outside the prison doors. That's one of those things that, yeah, it's a specific detail that really gets you into the rhythms of that place, you know, just the filth and the degradation that both the prisoners and the guards experience in that confined space. I found that another very powerful image, very powerful scene that just plays out very simply, very slowly, and that, yeah, he just lets happen. He doesn't cut away. He just trusts the audience to kind of settle in and understand what he's trying to get at. Yeah, that's another one. Very humanist as well. McQueen's sympathies aren't just with the prisoners who were being treated so horribly. He's also sympathetic with the guards. You know, even though they do abuse the prisoners and even though they do these awful things, they're still human beings who are suffering, who don't want to be doing those things, who are, yeah, being turned into these monsters by their circumstances. Yeah, so I think he really sees the tragedy in situations like that there aren't any good guys or bad guys. There's just victims. There's just victims on all sides. That's what violence does. Very powerful films. Yeah, I really admire McQueen's work. Shame is a work of art and one of my absolute favorites. I actually watch it regularly. You must have very thick skin, or maybe not thick skin, but yeah, that's a pretty devastating film. It's interesting to me that you would watch it regularly. Although, I guess I've seen Irreversible several times. Yeah, just to pick apart the way it's made. Although I do always skip the rape scene in Irreversible. I watched that once. I would not be able to watch it a second time. So I always skip that scene. But yeah, I'm always dazzled by the way Gaspar Noé directed Irreversible. And yeah, most people I think would say they've only seen that movie once. I've seen it like 6 times. But yeah, only saw the rape scene once. Not going to watch that again, but the rest of the movie, yeah, is pretty incredible the way it's made. So I don't know, I guess sometimes, yeah, you just connect with the way a director is presenting a story so that it kind of transcends the emotional devastation of it. Again, very specific thing. I think we all react to those movies in different ways. Oh, Brignar, saw Okja 2 days ago. Still feel a little disappointed. Okay. Oh, I'll rewatch the recording of the stream to hear what you said about Paterson. Okay. Yeah, sorry you missed that. But yeah, I don't want to repeat too much of what I've already said. But yeah, Okja, thank you for bringing that up so I can talk about that one. We'll transition into Okja now. I've mentioned Bong Joon-ho before on this stream and said that I'm a really big admirer of his work and his very, very unusual sensibilities. I kind of talked, I don't remember when it was, a couple of weeks ago, yeah, about how his movies are always a very odd combination of comedy and drama and these very broad, daring tonal shifts. And I guess Okja was no exception to that. I think it's his most, gosh, I'm trying to think now. Oh, where do I begin picking this one apart? So Okja is Bong Joon-ho's new movie. It was produced for Netflix, came out a couple days ago. When did it come out? June 28th, I think it was. So it's been out a couple of weeks. And I finally got around to watching it earlier this week. Yeah, I had kind of a mixed reaction. It was positive. I did like the movie. I thought it was a very good movie. But yeah, there were things that took me by surprise. There were things I wasn't expecting. Some things I wasn't quite sure what my reaction was. It appears to be a movie that has inspired some mixed reactions. It premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, where yeah, I guess there was some controversy because it's a film that hasn't gotten a theatrical release. I don't think there are any plans to give it a theatrical release. And at the Cannes Film Festival, they're very much about, like, it's all about theaters or nothing. Theatrical release, that's what film is. It's the cinematic experience. So I guess there were a lot of people that were upset that Okja was playing in competition without a theatrical release. And now I guess they just recently made it part of the festival's rules that a film has to have a theatrical release in order to play in competition. That's because of Okja and the controversy surrounding that one. And then, yeah, we talking about Okja? Yep, we just started. Yeah, so I guess then the film premiered, and there were some more problems because there was a technical glitch. The film, like, started... There was some kind of technical problem, so the film didn't play properly. It got booed, which made a lot of headlines. Okja booed at the Cannes Film Festival. Context was a little bit different than the impression you get. There was a technical glitch, so people were upset about that. But then apparently they fixed it. The film played properly, and then it got a standing ovation. So yeah, very, very, very divisive stuff out there. Very wide-ranging reactions. It's kind of interesting the way this has been playing out. But yeah, I finally watched it streamed on Netflix. This is a movie produced specifically for Netflix, by Netflix. And yeah, okay, so I guess story. I've heard a lot of comparisons with E.T. for this one. That basically, yeah, that's kind of what the story revolves around, is this little girl who lives kind of in an isolated farm in Korea, South Korea. And the concept is there's this corporation that has these new genetically engineered kind of pig animals that they're going to give to different farmers, and they want to see who can raise the biggest pig thing. And this little girl, her father gets one. She raises it. She becomes very close to it. She becomes, like, basically becomes part of her family. And then, you know, corporation shows up, wants to take the thing away from her. She needs to get it back. It's basically your kind of classic children's adventure movie setup. Little girl has kind of a fantastic creature as a best friend. Some kind of evil company, corporation, takes it away. She needs to get it back. Going into this thing, since I'd heard comparisons with Steven Spielberg's E.T., I guess tonally I was expecting something different than what I got. I was expecting like a full-on kids movie. It's not quite that. I'm not quite sure who this movie is intended for because, yeah, there's some very adult themes in it and some very dark, disturbing moments. And yeah, there's some harsh language in it. So I don't know. It's got kind of a kids movie setup and a kids movie concept to it, but in execution, I don't know. It seems like it was going for more of an older audience. So I'm not quite sure exactly. I couldn't quite pin it down. But I also think that's kind of a good thing. Yeah, a movie that defies your expectations and surprises you. One that you can't really lock into to one kind of genre. That's definitely Bong Joon-ho. His movies are all over the place. They never fit really comfortably into one genre. And yeah, I guess Okja is his take on the kids movie, which isn't really a kids movie. Or I don't know, maybe we're just getting too sensitive in the US, because you watch kids movies from other parts of the world, they tend to be a lot darker than what Disney is today. So I don't know, maybe it's just me. But I actually found some parts of Okja, to be quite disturbing. The movie, it is very slow and lighthearted. It's comedic. It's very tender and emotional. But in the third act, as the story starts developing, the stakes start getting pretty high, and it starts going to some very dark places. And there were actually some scenes I found very difficult to watch as an animal lover. Certainly, I think most people who watch it, it'll turn you into a vegetarian, unless you're used to, and unless you're used to what it takes, to preparing your own meat, which I'm really not. And even if you are, I think just, I'm kind of spoiling it, but there's, I apologize, if this is a big spoiler. I don't think so, because, but there is a scene where we see how the animals are processed by the corporation, and I just think a slaughterhouse, whether you eat meat or not, is always horrifying to see. Living things passing through machinery in a place designed specifically for death. That's, whether it's animals or whatever, I always find that disturbing. I mean, if you're doing your own hunting and, preparing your own meat, I guess that's a different thing. But a slaughterhouse, I think, is something very different. But it renewed my dedication to vegetarianism after watching that. But so it gets into some pretty dark, disturbing places, some difficult to watch bits. But then also, as you can expect from a Bong Joon-ho movie, there are also elements of very broad comedy to it as well, particularly from the Jake Gyllenhaal character. He sort of plays this television personality. I don't know if he's inspired by anyone in particular, but he's like this sort of formerly popular television personality, alleged naturalist animal lover, who's hired by the corporation to be like the face of their new program. Gyllenhaal takes a pretty big risk in his performance. He's playing it very, very broad. There is absolutely no subtlety in his performance, and I'm sure, some people are going to find it a lot to take. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed his guts, that he really was taking no prisoners in this performance, really just going as broad as he possibly could. I thought he was very funny. To me, the one who really stole the show was Tilda Swinton, actually in a dual role playing twin sisters. She's excellent as always. I mean, Tilda Swinton is never not excellent, but in particular, she was especially excellent in this movie. Very funny and surprisingly complex too. She does essentially play the head of an evil corporation, but somebody who genuinely wants to change what her corporation is, and it's sort of about the way that goes wrong, and the complexities involved in it. But the movie has a very good cast. There's also Paul Dano as the head of like an eco-terrorist organization who is out to rescue Okja from the evil corporation, and help the little girl in her adventure. All of the actors are very funny in their roles as well. Paul Dano, surprisingly not creepy in this movie. That's unusual. The little girl was very good too. I think this was her first like major film role. She's a Korean actress, very young Korean actress. She was excellent. I was very surprised. It's hard to find really good natural child actors, but she was fantastic. I thought Bong Joon-ho worked very well with her, was able to get a very natural performance out of her. And then there's Okja itself, the creature. This movie, I guess for a film produced specifically for a streaming platform, it had a pretty large budget. It cost about $50 million, which I guess on the scale of stuff that is produced for a digital platform is pretty big. But in general, Hollywood terms, is pretty small, and there are a lot of effects in the movie. Maybe not as much as you would see in your typical Hollywood film. Basically, the big effect is just Okja, but that creature is in basically every shot of the movie. And I'll admit, like, it took me a little while to settle in, because there was never really any point where I actually believed that the creature was a real physical animal. So it kind of took me a while to settle into it, but I thought the storytelling was so good. Bong Joon-ho, he really took his time in trying to establish the relationship, in trying to establish like a biology for the creature, a physical presence for it. It interacts, you know, with the environment and the other actors very well. There's a very close attention to detail. I mean, even just like a little thing. There's a scene towards the beginning where there's, you know, a brief action sequence where the girl is kind of like in some peril. She's kind of like hanging over the edge of a cliff. This is in the beginning, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything. And the creature, Okja, is trying to rescue her, and there's just a little detail that some drool falls out of its mouth and lands on her head. Kind of a simple, subtle little thing, but I think it adds something there so that you feel like there is an animal there that is interacting and has, yeah, a real impact on its environment. So I think that attention to detail was very well done, helped sell it, because at a certain point I did stop paying attention to the special effects. At first that was all I could focus on, like, I don't know if it's not really flawlessly done. I don't know if I really believe that it's actually there. But eventually at a certain point I got wrapped up in the story, I got wrapped up in the relationship between the girl and Okja, and I just stopped paying attention. And I was just willing to believe it. So I think that is a testament to Bong Joon-ho's talents as a storyteller, as a visual filmmaker, as a master of tone and broad shifts in tone and character details. Very eccentric, very unique characters. So overall, I think I did really like it. It wasn't what I was expecting, so yeah, I was a little bit shocked at the end of it. Yeah, that it did kind of go into these very dark, disturbing places. But I think it was a very good movie. I think really shows that Netflix is willing to take some big chances. I don't think this is a film that could have been made in the studio system if, you know, like Disney had been behind it or DreamWorks or something like that. I don't think they would have been able to make what they made. It probably would have had to compromise a lot on many, of the tonal shifts. But I think really what is making Netflix as strong as it is and really building their reputation and their presence in the industry is the fact that they take chances and that they put their confidence in artists and in filmmakers. Basically what I imagine they did with this, as they do with almost all of their other stuff, is they went to a director they really admired, a really talented filmmaker, and said, what would you like to do? And got behind it and said, okay, now do your thing with it. Whatever you want to do, we'll be behind you on that. And so yeah, this is a very atypical film in that sense. I felt, I'm seeing some comments that some people felt it was a little generic, a little predictable. I can understand that. I didn't feel that way though. I felt it took a lot of risks, took a lot of chances, and really tried to combine some unusual elements together into one film. And I liked that. I really did like that. Like I said, it wasn't quite what I expected, so yeah, there were some bits I wasn't quite sure how I felt, especially in the last act, the final third. But overall, I was very impressed. I thought it was a very good movie. Some great performances, great characters, some really terrific action sequences, not done in a typical way with like a lot of cutting and huge stunts. It's done mostly in a comedic style, in a very simple kind of like proscenium style, you know, just with the actors' whole bodies in frame and the camera not really doing a lot, just kind of following the action. We kind of get these really broad slapstick action sequences, played more for comedy than anything else, which I really enjoyed. Bong Joon-ho has a tremendous talent for staging action like that. I think he's great at sequences like that. And yeah, was very focused in on the emotion and the relationship between the girl and the creature. And I thought it was all very well done. It can be tricky because this film is mostly in English. It can be tricky, yeah, for a director trying to work in a language that is not their first language, but I thought he did very, very well. I know John Ronson, a Welsh writer, journalist, writer, novelist, he wrote a lot of the English language dialogue, and I thought, yeah, he had a very good ear, yeah, for satire and parody and comedy and specific character details. So, yeah, I thought it was a really good combination of elements, made for a very strong movie. Not the kind of film I don't think we're ever going to see out of a Hollywood studio anymore. So yeah, I liked it. I would definitely recommend that people check it out if you have Netflix. And makes me excited to see what Netflix does in the future, if they're going to take a chance on something like this and, yeah, really let a director just do what they're going to do, then, yeah, that makes me really excited to see what else is coming down the pipeline from them. And from Bong Joon-ho. I'm very consistently impressed by his work as well. Okja wasn't one of my favorites of his. I didn't think it was as good as Memories of Murder, or Barking Dogs Never Bite, or The Host. Those have been my 3 favorites from him so far. I think all 3 of those are masterpieces. And I guess most of his recent work I don't think is quite matched up to that to that level. Like Mother, I thought was very good, but I didn't think it was great. It's been a while since I've seen it though, so I might need to revisit it. And Snowpiercer, which I think was produced for the Weinstein Company, but I think did actually get distribution from Netflix. And I liked Snowpiercer as well. I thought it was a really good, just kind of like pure action movie with a philosophical metaphor driving the whole thing. Yeah, I like Snowpiercer. I think Okja was maybe a little better. Had a bit more emotional resonance to it. But I think it's really interesting, the stuff that he's been doing, the way he's been, yeah, expanding and trying new things, trying very different things. I think he is one of the most talented filmmakers working right now, and Okja, yeah, is another eccentric, esoteric addition to his unique filmography. So yeah, I'm a big fan of his work. And yeah, if you have Netflix, give Okja a look. I think it'll really be different from any of the other kids' films you can go out there and see right now. All right, way behind on the chat now. Let's see what we got going on here. Talking about Okja. Cool, watched it yesterday. As flawed as it was, I enjoyed it a lot. The creature effects were great, and it had a nice message. Okay, interesting. Bong Joon-ho in general has been kind of a tonally confusing director for me. Things get very serious, and then they'll be totally goofy in the next scene. Yeah, that's something he does exceptionally well. Yeah, he's really not afraid of broad tonal shifts. And yeah, I think you really see that in Okja as well. You'll get a really serious scene where the animal is in jeopardy and suffering, and then Jake Gyllenhaal will come in doing this goofy voice and like stumbling around and just playing it as broad as you could possibly play it. I guess for some people that's really not going to work. It's just going to be too conflicting, but I sort of enjoyed that he wasn't afraid of that he was willing to go that far. He seems to really love, yeah, extreme contrasts like that. I do appreciate the movie for what it was trying to do. The moral was good. Yeah, it definitely had a very critical stance regarding corporations and yeah, exploitation of people and resources. So I definitely, as an environmentalist, I responded strongly to that. And I like, yeah, the subtle commentary that is at work in all of Joon-ho's movies. Like The Host. That's another very environmentalist film. Very critical of like corporations and military, especially critical of the United States. The Host, yeah, is... I don't know if that movie could be released today, because it really does have a lot of satire and a lot of criticism directed specifically at the United States. Like, there are American military figures in that movie who are basically responsible for everything that fucks up in that story. So yeah, he's not really holding back on that, and you know, he has a point. Yeah, the United States, yeah, has done some awful stuff, made some pretty big mistakes. Yeah, I don't think he's totally wrong in satirizing that and criticizing that. Okja, I think, is less specific. The corporation, yeah, is not really, I think, nationally specific so much. I think it's more just criticizing corporate mentality and capitalism in general. I guess because it's produced mostly in the United States, he can't go that far with it. Let's see. Brignar says, everything was good in my opinion, but the story felt almost generic for me. Okay. The thing I liked about it is that the movie never pretended to be anything it wasn't, and I respect it. I can see that, but there are so many ways, there are so many movies pushing this narrative in the same way, to the point of boredom, but if you liked it, that's great. Yeah, I disagree. I thought it took some risks. I thought it went outside the mold quite a bit. Certainly just in the fact of not trying to make the creature or the girl too cutesy, and trying to make them more real. You know, like having the creature like shitting in several scenes, and trying to say like this is a biological animal, so it's going to do all of the things biological animals do. You might be able to get away with that in your traditional kids movie. You might be able to get away with like 1 or 2 fart jokes in a traditional kids movie. I think this movie tried to push it a little further. So I think it does take some risks, and I think it does, yeah, break outside the mold in several ways. I love Tilda Swinton. Interestingly, she also played twin sisters in Hail Caesar last year too. I heard about that, but I haven't seen Hail Caesar yet. I think she should play twins in everything. The more Tilda Swinton you can get, the better. Yeah, her performances in Okja were fantastic. Like how, when you see the twin sisters on screen together in Okja, and it's held off for a very long time. Like you hear about the twin sister for a long time throughout the story, and then you finally see them together. Like how different she is able to make those two characters, and how different she is able to make her performances. It's pretty amazing. She's incredible. Okay, Smart Monkey saying, I feel you on that for sure. Oh, I guess that the story felt a little generic. I think that any story, no matter how generic, can work if the execution and journey from point A to point B is done well enough. Oh, and young Peter Roll saying, the pig looked like a hippo. Oh, because the pig looked like a hippo, the movie took a little while to grow on me. Yeah, same thing here. I wasn't quite sure if I was willing to go along with the look of the creature. But after a while, I think it wins you over. Brignar, I agree. Maybe I was so prepared for it to be different that I felt shorted, and that made me feel disappointed. A case of too high expectations, mostly because I really enjoy the director. Interesting. Yeah, Tate Hildyard says, funny you bring up Tilda Swinton. Both her and Jake Gyllenhaal were hamming it up like crazy. But while Swinton was easily the best part of the movie for me, Gyllenhaal was probably the worst. I can see that. He's going so far with his performance. It's going to be something you're either going to love or you're absolutely going to hate. I fell more on the love side. I like it when actors can really put themselves out there. I like it when any artist can really put themselves out there and say, like, you know what? I'm gonna take a chance. I'm gonna walk the tightrope without a safety net. I'm gonna see what happens. So there's a part of me that really responds to that. And yeah, I can't say for certain whether I thought it worked in tone with the rest of the movie, because there were many points where, yeah, I was consciously aware of a performance happening. And I guess most people would say that's not a good thing. You shouldn't be aware of an actor performing. You should just be focusing on the character. But, you know, it had me engaged. It had me reacting. I could never look away when Gyllenhaal was on screen. I was always reacting to something that he was doing. And, you know, I like that. I appreciate that. He took a chance. And I respect him for that. Oh, Smart Monkey saying, I had expectations for a mediocre movie, so I was pleased. The trailer didn't sell it for me. Glad I enjoyed the movie. Brynjar. Hey, Henry, how did you feel about the last scene where Okja does a Lost in Translation scene? I'm not sure. I honestly don't really remember that. Gosh, maybe I wasn't paying attention. I'm not sure. I don't really recall that. I think maybe I was still just trying to process everything that just happened, so I wasn't quite registering everything that was happening in those final moments. I was still kind of reeling from the climax. So I don't know. I guess I'd have to give it a second viewing to really pay attention to that. Sorry, I always hate it when I can't answer someone's question adequately. So I apologize for that. What else we got here? Smart Monkey, Mother greater than Okja, faux show. I remember the last time I came here, I talked about how I just watched it. Yeah, I think that was how I first started talking about Bong Joon-ho way back then. Yeah, I'd like to rewatch his movies again, yeah, because I'm always amazed at his talent for staging scenes, the way he's able to capture dialogue and action. He just has such a unique way of looking at things that I'm always surprised, yeah, just in the way he executes something, the way he chooses to film it, the way he chooses to edit, the way he chooses to stage it. There's a real creativity, I think, in the way he approaches visual storytelling. I'm always very impressed by it. But yeah, I guess I liked, for instance, in Okja, when Gyllenhaal's character first appears, that you've got this quiet, isolated farm setting, and it's very peaceful and low-key and going according to this kind of steady, slow rhythm. And then, like, the camera it does the most dramatic movement it's done in the film at that point. It does this sudden whip pan, and you see Gyllenhaal come up over a hill, and suddenly he totally changes the rhythm and the energy of the movie, introduces a completely new element. It's the outside world suddenly invading this peaceful little bubble. The whole way that was executed, I thought, was very well done. And yeah, Bong Joon-ho always has moments like that really impress me. It's like, oh wow, that's great visual storytelling, and just using camera and staging and editing to really drive a point home. Speaking of Netflix movies, I'm cautiously hyped for Scorsese's The Irishman, reuniting De Niro, Pacino, and Joe Pesci, oh god, with ILM de-aging them to their 30s and 50s. Ew, that doesn't sound good. Ugh. I don't know. Maybe Scorsese? Okay, maybe there's potential. Scorsese's a great filmmaker. De-aging technology, I guess, is getting better. I don't know. Honestly, my first reaction, my gut reaction, my reflex reaction when I hear that is like, ugh, that sounds bad. But trying to be open-minded about this. Technology is advancing. Storytelling is evolving. Okay, maybe it'll be something good. You've got good actors. Well, it used to be good. De Niro and Pacino, yeah, have been doing a lot of crap lately, but great director. Maybe it'll be a good script, good story. We'll see. I guess I'm kind of with you. I'm cautiously hyped for it. Good names, a good creative collaboration potentially happening there. But I don't know. It could potentially be a disaster too, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out, though. Especially produced for Netflix. I think it's their biggest movie yet, too. I think I read it was going to cost $100 million. That's twice the amount that Okja cost. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Oh, ILM did a phenomenal job de-aging Michael Douglas in Ant-Man. There's a clip of it on YouTube. I think I remember seeing that. That actually was pretty good. Yeah, I'll admit, that's the best de-aging work that I've seen. Normally it looks really weird. It's kind of like Uncanny Valley stuff. It just looks distracting and strange. Like in Star Wars stuff when they bring actors back from the dead. It's distracting. It's all I can focus on. But I don't know. Again, I think special effects are really secondary to a good story and good characters. And just a good style. I'm talking about how I love style more than anything, but a good story can make up for a lot. and good characters. I think it worked in Okja. I wasn't quite buying the special effects, but the story and the characters engaged me. So, who knows? You know, maybe if Scorsese does his job well enough, maybe initially I'll just be completely focused on the de-aging stuff. But if I can get engaged with a story, then I'll be willing to look past it. Oh, Snowpiercer has the most incredible surround sound on Blu-ray. I've never seen it on Blu-ray. I've only seen it streamed on Netflix. That should still be available on Netflix, right? I kind of like to rewatch it. It's been a while since I've seen it. I mean, all of Bong Joon-ho's stuff. It's been a while since I've seen most of it. I kind of like to revisit, yeah. I'd like to revisit Mother. I'd like to revisit Snowpiercer, Barking Dogs Never Bite. Yeah, he's an extraordinary filmmaker. I think I've only seen all of his work once, except for The Host. I've seen a couple times. I'm most familiar with that one. But yeah, I'd like to start going back and rewatching stuff. Oh, Jack says, all I have seen is The Host, which I loved, and Snowpiercer, which I found kind of average. Yeah, I've heard mixed reactions on that. Some people, I guess, really weren't buying it. Other people seem to really respond to it. I guess it's one you really have to approach as metaphor more than anything else. Because I've read some reviews where people really try to apply like a character logic to it. Like, why don't they, in this situation, why don't they just do this? That would make more sense. Well, the story's really functioning as a metaphor for class warfare than anything else. And yeah, why would they if the world ends, why would they put them on a train? Like, a train can be derailed. Why does it have to constantly be in motion? That doesn't make any sense. If you apply logic to it, yeah, it doesn't really work. But if you just accept it as metaphor, then yeah, I think it's really enjoyable and really interesting. I woke up with a sore throat today. This is not doing me any favors. Let's see. Hasn't The Irishman been talked about for years, actually? It started shooting in August. I didn't know they actually started. That'll be interesting. Yeah, I didn't know it was happening that quickly. I thought they were running into some roadblocks. Like, I'd heard there was some kind of legal issue, like somebody started suing them or something like that. Yeah, so I thought production had been delayed. Oh, it's starting shooting in August. Okay. I misread that. Yeah, because I started thinking like, wait, it's not August yet. Okay, it's going to start shooting in August. All right. Scorsese, Pesci, and De Niro back together again? I'm there. Yeah, I don't think Scorsese's ever worked with Pacino before either. I can't think of Scorsese... Yeah, I don't think he's ever done anything with Pacino, so that could potentially be good. He'd never done anything with Jack Nicholson before The Departed. That turned out to be a pretty great collaboration, so yeah, maybe Pacino could really get back into form with Scorsese at the helm. I really liked Pacino in the David Gordon Green movie he just did, Manglehorn. I think that's still available to stream on Netflix. I'd really recommend that one. I thought Pacino was great in that one. I thought that was one of his best performances. Really character-driven film. Yeah, that's an underrated one. Really underrated one. Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to turn out. Oh, did you get around to watching 10 Cloverfield Lane? You said you would talk about it in your stream. That's right. I actually completely forgot about that one. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to watch that one with my brother. Okay. I'll tell you what. Since, yeah, we were supposed to watch that one a long time ago. I think it was because of Felix. We started getting into stuff with him, and we put 10 Cloverfield Lane on the back burner. I'll tell you what. Next stream that my brother joins me on, we're going to talk about Twin Peaks, we're going to talk about Baby Driver, we're going to talk about 10 Cloverfield Lane. We'll do we'll do those three next week, I promise you. You have my oath. Yeah, I'm sorry, I totally forgot about that one. My only phone is connected to the wall via a cable. Hey, that's vintage, man. Congratulations. I wish I still had a landline. Make me a little bit harder to get a hold of. I'm always shocked when my phone rings too, like, because nobody ever calls me. So every time it goes off, I have to take a minute to figure out what it even is. I can't imagine, yeah, being constantly connected. And all of my friends, yeah, are always texting with somebody. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I'm out of time. I'm sure I'm not the only one either, but yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. Oh, how do you rate Terry Gilliam's Brothers Grimm? I think it's better than it's given credit for. I actually think that's probably his weakest movie. That's another one. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember when I watched it, I did not really like it. Yeah, I think that was his biggest movie, his largest budgeted film. And from what I've heard, he clashed very heavily with the producers on that one. I guess, essentially, yeah, the producers were wanting to make one movie. He was wanting to make a completely different movie. So I feel like that shows on screen an awful lot, that there's a lot of compromise there, two different sensibilities at war. I feel like Terry Gilliam, yeah, wanted to go in a much darker direction, and there's something kind of holding him back. I guess it still gets away with a lot of pretty dark moments. There's a scene where a kitten gets ground up into hamburger meat. I don't think you'd see that in most fairy tale movies. Which, speaking of fairy tale movies, I need to see Tale of Tales as well. That one was recommended to me a long time ago. And since my brother has the Showtime app, I can stream that one now. But yeah, I really want to check that one out. That's the Italian director, Matteo Garrone. He directed this fantastic movie about the Italian mafia called Gomorrah. And that's the only film of his I've seen, but I really want to see Tale of Tales. So speaking of fairy tales, I'll have to check that one out too. But yeah, I would kind of like to revisit Brothers Grimm, since it's been so long since I've seen it. I'd kind of like to go back and give it another viewing, see if maybe my reaction has changed. Oh, Criterion's Stalker Blu-ray will be in stores in 11 days. Yeah, The Zone. Oh yes. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna try and yeah get scrape together some moolah to pick that one up when the sale starts. Yeah, I'd like to really give that one a close watching. Oh, I imagine The Irishman's $125 million budget, okay, it's even bigger than I thought, is due to ILM de-aging the actors. Like I said, luckily it's the same studio that worked on Ant-Man. Wow, that's huge. That's like that's a studio budget. That's amazing. I'm impressed that a streaming platform is able to work on that scale already. Yeah, I figured it would still be a couple of years. But wow, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because they're basically going to be competing directly with studios with stuff like that. I wonder if it's going to get a theatrical release or if it's just going to be Netflix. Yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens with that one. When I saw Jackie Brown in the cinema in '98, someone lit up a cigarette, and the person behind did not speak, but repeatedly kicked the back of his chair, almost out of the floor. Wow. I don't know, I feel like it's appropriate to smoke in a Tarantino movie. But if it's distracting, it's distracting. That's funny, though. That's a great way, yeah, to avoid direct confrontation. If a guy turns around and is like, hey, what are you doing? I'm sorry, I don't know. That's probably what I would do. Don't want to directly confront somebody with anything. Just try to be passive-aggressive about it. Oh, I'm sorry, was I kicking your seat? I didn't realize. Tarantino's best film. Yeah, I would agree with that, yeah. I think Jackie Brown is his best movie. Just because of Pam Grier. She's so good. That's such a perfect character for her. I got really invested in that movie. Sorry. I got really invested in that movie, yeah. That's the film of his, yeah, that I felt the most sympathy for a character, got most invested in the story, and yeah, those last few beats, yeah, when the heist starts going off, and yeah, Sam Jackson starts basically killing everybody, coming after Jackie Brown. I got really involved, really felt the suspense in that one. I wanted Jackie Brown to get away so bad. So yeah, I got really invested in that one. That's the most emotional investment I've ever felt in a Tarantino movie. So for that reason, yeah, that gets my vote as well as his best work. But I've been sort of warming up to his stuff recently as well. I saw The Hateful Eight. I like that one much more than I thought I would. And yeah, I've been reluctant to really embrace his work for the longest time, but I think I'm finally starting to warm up to it. I don't know. Again, it's been a long time since I've really watched a lot of his stuff. I'd kind of like to re-familiarize myself with his work. It's been ages since I've seen Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill. I only saw Django and Inglourious Bastards. I only saw them the one time. Yeah, I kind of like to dive back into Tarantino, see if my reaction has changed or evolved at all. Are you familiar with the English satirist Chris Morris? I know somebody's recommended his stuff to me before. In my opinion, he's an absolute genius. His only feature film so far has been Four Lions, a dark comedy on extremist terrorism. However, he is fairly reclusive and does not do too much work. His best stuff was his TV shows such as The Day Today, Brass Eye, and Jam. Somebody else saying, Jack says, I love Four Lions. I have heard of that movie. Somebody a while back recommended to me Chris Morris's stuff. It might have been you, I'm not sure. But yeah, I did actually look him up, and I discovered that Four Lions is streaming on Hulu. So it's on my queue on Hulu. I'll try and give that one a watch then. See what I think of it, because I don't think I've seen any of his other stuff. But yeah, Four Lions is available for me, so I will try to make sure I watch that one. Considering the crap movies De Niro and Pacino have been in recently, I imagine they only take a small portion of the budget. Makes sense. Yeah, I think after Dirty Grandpa, De Niro should have at least one of his Oscars revoked. Yeah, that and a few other things. Was De Niro in Las Vegas? I can't even remember now. I know he's been in some crap. He's been in a lot of crap recently. Little Fockers, oh man. I didn't see that one, but that's one of the few movies my brother actually walked out on. I think it came out when he was in high school, and he was reviewing it for his for the paper. He was a film reviewer for the high school paper, and I think he actually walked out like after 30 minutes. He does not do that very often, but yeah, apparently it was bad. It was very bad. Yeah, I hope De Niro does at least one more good movie before he calls it quits. I think Pacino at least will every once in a while do something good. He'll still do like a Jack and Jill, which was awful, or even Stand Up Guys. I thought was really bad. Just trying to bank on the legendary status of its three actors. I actually thought it was a pretty bad movie. But Pacino will still occasionally do something interesting. Like he'll do an HBO film, with a good director. Like he did a Phil Spector one, which I haven't seen, but I heard was very good. And some other stuff. And again, like I said, I really liked Manglehorn. So I think Pacino will still occasionally do something good. De Niro, I don't think I've seen him in anything good in a while. I think it's been quite a few years since he's done something really good. Well, okay, now that I think about it, he has done some David O. Russell stuff, which has been good. Like Silver Linings Playbook, Joy I thought was good. American Hustle I did not like nearly as much as everyone else did. But it's still better than fucking Dirty Grandpa. I'll give it that. So, okay. He'll occasionally do something good as well. But yeah, it's sad, man. The sad state of cinema. Oh. Talking about Chris Morris. Blue Jam. Oh, okay. Ryan Smith, you recommended Chris Morris stuff to me. Okay, he's a genius. Blue Jam, the radio show. Interesting. Okay. Alright, yeah, I'll make sure... I think I tried looking up some of his television stuff. I couldn't really find a way to watch it in the US. But Four Lions, his film, yeah, is on Hulu. So I will try to make sure I watch that. Oh, are people talking about... Okay, I'm a little behind on the chat here. Oh, 10 Cloverfield Lane is very enjoyable. Hope you like it. Yeah, we'll see. I'm very stubbornly against J.J. Abrams stuff, but I will try my best to approach it with an open unbiased viewpoint. I never go into any movie wanting to dislike it. I always try to go into every movie wanting to enjoy it. So a film has to be pretty terrible for me to not find something to appreciate. You know, it has to be Gods of Egypt for me to really hate it. It's very rare that I see a film that I actively hate. I guess mostly because I just don't watch them. If something looks bad to me, I just won't watch it. You know, if a Michael Bay movie comes out, another Transformers movie, it's not for me. I don't have any interest in it. I won't watch it. I try to only watch the stuff that I think is I'm going to respond to, that I think is worth my time. So I don't tend to have a lot of really bad reviews on this channel, which I guess is my loss, since that seems to be the stuff people really like. Because I guess that has the most potential to be funny and entertaining. You know, there's no such thing as a funny compliment. But I don't know. I guess I only really like talking about the stuff that I like, that I love. That's really all I want to spend my time with. Oh, talking about Chris Morris stuff? Okay, The Day Today, Brass Eye, Blue Jam. They are all available on YouTube. Jam is especially brilliant. It's a comedy sketch show a la David Lynch. Interesting. Alright, I will look into it. Oh, what's the David Gordon Green Pacino film name, please? Manglehorn. M-A-N-G-L-E-H-O-R-N. Manglehorn. I think it's still available on Netflix. But you live in the UK, don't you? So I don't know if it's going to be available there. But it's worth looking into. Really went under the radar. I thought it was a very nice little film. Yeah, sort of went back to like Pacino's really early, like really character-driven stuff, like Panic in Needle Park. Before he became like a real star, it felt like Pacino really in just like character actor mode. And I thought it was good, and I love the weird, dreamy quality of the movie, too. And if you're a Harmony Korine fan, Harmony Korine actually plays a supporting role in this movie, and he's great. He actually manages to hold his own opposite Pacino on screen, which I was impressed by. Oh, I found Four Lions, Sasha, I found Four Lions to be utterly disturbing, therefore unfunny and offensive. Yeah, I guess if you're making a comedy about extremist terrorism, I think is what somebody said it was about. Yeah, Eddie said it's a dark comedy on extremist terrorism. That's tough to make funny. That'd be a difficult one to pull off. So yeah, I'm not surprised that some people, yeah, would find it just unfunny and offensive. I'd like to see it, though. I'd like to see for myself, yeah, how I react to it. Chris Morris's final episode of Brass Eye, called Paydogadon, caused a shitstorm of controversy and made him public enemy #1 in England. However, it's actually brilliant and hugely intelligent. Oh, okay. And going back to Jackie Brown, too. Jackie Brown is one of his films that Tarantino didn't write, too. He did write the screenplay, but I think somebody else said later on here. He did write it, but it's an yeah, Young Peter Roll, thank you. He did write it, but it's an adaptation of the Elmore Leonard novel, Rum Punch. Young Peter Roll also saying the music, which, yeah, it has a great soundtrack. Yeah, it's almost all music taken from other movies, which Tarantino does a lot, but I think Jackie Brown does it more than any of his movies. Almost the whole soundtrack of Jackie Brown is made up of other movie soundtracks, like blaxploitation movie soundtrack stuff from the 70s. And yeah, it's great choices. I actually really love it when directors can reappropriate music from other movies and give it a new spin, do something else with it, make you see it or listen to it in a different way. I think Tarantino's great at that. Another one that pops into my mind is when Zack Snyder reused the score for Koyaanisqatsi in the sequence in Watchmen, where you're seeing the birth of Dr. Manhattan. I think, yeah, the Philip Glass Koyaanisqatsi music, that's a great choice for that sequence. Yeah, and I think a great way of reappropriating another film's score and doing something different with it. I really like that. That was maybe my favorite part of the Watchmen movie, is that little directorial choice. Oh, Blue Jam is so funny. I return to Morris's stuff so frequently. I've never seen any of his work. All right, I will try to make sure I at least watch Four Lions. Yeah, hopefully at some point before the next stream. So you can have, yeah, if we're gonna be talking about like 10 Cloverfield Lane and Twin Peaks and stuff, yeah, if you're there for the next stream, be sure to ask me about it, because I'll try to make sure I watch something of Chris Morris's within the next week. Oh, Chris Morris collaborated with Charlie Brooker, creator of Black Mirror, on a program called Nathan Barley. That was probably tremendous then. Yeah, Charlie Brooker's, yeah, he's another great one. Black Mirror is amazing social commentary and social satire. That's a brilliant little show. It actually, with all the comparisons it's earned to Twilight Zone, it's justified, because yeah, that show is, I think, just as much an exploration of where we are culturally right now as Twilight Zone was an exploration of where we were culturally then. And Twilight Zone is very specifically American. Although I did kind of get at some universal stuff, like the atom bomb, yeah, the explosion of dangerous, destructive technology, and even, yeah, subjectivity, the striving for beauty and perfection, but how relative beauty is. There's that classic episode where the woman's getting the plastic surgery, and you never see anyone's face the whole time, and then, of course, there's a great twist at the end. And even, yeah, just the brilliant irony that is on display in every episode, of how there's always an ironic twist at the end that drives a point home, or a moral home, or a thematic message home. It was a great show, really clever show. Black Mirror has that same quality, just really wonderful writing and a great sense of dramatic irony that drives home a specific message. Yeah, I still haven't seen all of Black Mirror. I need to get back into that. Oh, talking about the radio show? Nathan Barley? I'm not sure which radio show Ryan Smith is referring to. You can probably buy the CDs on Amazon. I'm guessing Nathan Barley, the show. Nathan Barley is also great and really relevant. The Day Today with Chris Morris has become a classic too. Yeah, this must be a very specifically English thing, because I've actually never heard of Chris Morris. I don't know if it's just because I'm really out of the loop, or if it's just, yeah, something that hasn't quite stormed over into the US yet. Oh, Jack Cutie. I'm so sorry I can't say your last name. I'm just going to say Jack. A really good documentary called Tickled, which came out last year, used some of the score of Upstream Color. Interesting. Oh, speaking of Upstream Color, we're kind of coming up to the end of the stream, but I kind of wanted to mention another movie that I saw. Oh, Sasha found Manglehorn. Okay, good. Yeah, that's a good one, an underseen one. You have more Chris Morris. Chris Morris is also responsible for launching Charlie Brooker and Steve Coogan's careers. Wow. Did not know that. Also, Tickled was brilliant, really unexpectedly disturbing, though. Tickled. Never heard of that one. I'm going to write that down. Tickled definitely got a reaction out of me. I'm writing that one down. Tickled. I've never heard of it. Oh, but before I go, one other movie I wanted to mention. Because somebody mentioned Upstream Color, that made me think of Amy Seimetz. She was in this movie that I just watched on Netflix that I think a long time ago somebody recommended to me. But it's this movie called Entertainment. And I have a recollection that somebody told me to watch it a very long time ago. And I finally did. It was streaming on Netflix, so yeah, I gave it a watch. Really, I didn't know anything about it. I guess as I was watching it, my brother, I guess he recognized a lot of the actors. He said that the main actor in this movie apparently has a recurring character on the Tim and Eric show called Neil Hamburger. And I guess the movie is sort of like an exploration of that persona, this Neil Hamburger persona, who's sort of like an anti-comic, a very confrontational kind of comedic personality. It's sort of an exploration of that personality, and also the guy that plays Neil Hamburger. And I guess it's sort of this exploration of the line between comedy and confrontation, and and where the line is in terms of what's funny, and when comedy and aggression start mixing. It's this very fascinating character examination, and this very fascinating blur of tone and genre. It's part comedy, part genre, part drama, part comedy, part drama, and part horror film. I thought there was actually some scenes where I was actually getting very tense, very uncomfortable. There's some scenes where this guy, this comedian, the movie follows a road comic and kind of just his mental deterioration, and how he just sort of becomes more and more aggressive, lashing out at his audiences in harsher and harsher ways. And the line between his comedy and his mental distress starts breaking down. It's very, very fascinating, and very, very atmospheric and rich, just in this dramatic tension. I thought it was an amazing movie. I actually really responded to it. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, but I thought it was incredible. I thought it was a masterpiece. I was absolutely hooked from the very beginning to the very end. I think the last time I got this absorbed and hypnotized by a movie was when I watched Denis Villeneuve's Enemy, which is another strange, like, tonal horror film. But yeah, Entertainment is tremendously unconventional. There's not really a story to it. It's, I guess you could say, possibly non-linear. It jumps around a lot. It's very ambiguous and abstract in places. And yeah, a lot of the time it just kind of leaves you unsure how you're supposed to react. Like, is this scene sad? Is this scene funny? Is this scene scary? And so it really throws you for a loop the whole way through. But I loved that. I really loved that. It had me so fascinated and so with so many conflicting emotions going through my head at the same time. And I thought it was just a masterpiece of tone and atmosphere. I got so absorbed in it. The soundtrack, the sound design, the performances, the very restrained direction. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And I highly, highly recommend it. Yeah, if your taste runs into the unconventional, I think this is an incredible movie. Yeah, so many great scenes. I think some people are mentioning, oh yeah, oh man, I love Entertainment. So strange. Eddie Moriarty, thank you. And great Michael Cera cameo in Entertainment too. Yeah, there's some great cameos throughout that movie. Tim Heidecker has a cameo. John C. Reilly has a cameo. They're great. Amy Seimetz, yeah, the star of Upstream Color. And I believe Mrs. Shane Carruth. I think they're married now. Yeah, so Mrs. Shane Carruth, Amy Seimetz, she has a cameo in one scene as well. She has the most horrible things shouted to her. The main guy, yeah, it's a challenging character, not always a likable character, but yeah, clearly a guy suffering from some kind of, I don't know, some kind of mental breakdown, some kind of fear, I don't know, self-loathing, aggression. There's really, yeah, something very dark and troubling going on in this character. And yeah, there are a couple of scenes where he really viciously lashes out at his audience, and Amy Seimetz, yeah, in one scene really bears the brunt of that. And she, yeah, just has the most horrible things shouted at her in this continuous stream. It's a hard scene to watch, especially, yeah, because she's an actress I have instant sympathy for because of seeing her in Upstream Color, and yeah, how much you connect to her character in that movie. And then, yeah, seeing her in this context, it's like, oh my god, that's awful. But there's some great scenes in it. Some really great scenes in this film. I really loved the sequence towards the end when the comedian basically, he does I guess kind of like this act of ultimate aggression towards an audience, where he basically, yeah, he just kind of picks up a thing that's on stage and he treats it like a machine gun, and he just points it at the audience, and he just basically for a couple of minutes just acts like he's gunning down the audience. He doesn't even try to put on a performance. He doesn't even try to tell a joke. He doesn't even make an effort at entertaining. It's just like screw you. I have nothing but contempt for all of you. It's funny, but it's also really horrifying in a way too, within that context of really saying what is entertainment, and yeah, what kind of line can you cross when you're on stage. I found it absolutely fascinating. Oh, and Jack asks, have you seen any of Rick Alverson's other films? Yeah, the writer-director of Entertainment was Rick Alverson, and I have not seen any of his other films. He did one that I nearly watched called The Comedy, which I think also stars Tim Heidecker. That was available to stream on Netflix for a while. I didn't get a chance to watch it when it was streaming, so I missed that one. It's one I really want to see, especially since I've seen Entertainment now and really responded so strongly to that one. I want to check out more of his other stuff, but yeah, I thought Entertainment was just a masterpiece. I absolutely adored it, and yeah, I wanted to make sure I mentioned it before I ended the stream. I'm glad somebody reminded me indirectly, but I did remember it. But yeah, I thought that was a great one. And I actually just, after watching that one, it made me want to watch Tim and Eric stuff, so I've actually started watching Tim and Eric Awesome Show as well. And yeah, I'm starting to see the Neil Hamburger character, and yeah, the context for some of that stuff. But yeah, that's a bizarre show, but I'm really enjoying it too. I think it's pretty funny. Let's see, I'm going to take a last look here. What else we got? Young Peter Roll, Tower is another good documentary, and it's on Netflix. It's filmed with rotoscope. Interesting. Okay. I will write that one down. Tower. Okay. Been meaning to watch Tower. Okay, I've actually never heard of that. Interesting. I'm so far behind sometimes. It's embarrassing. Henry, type in Mark Kermode rants into YouTube. You will have a blast. Okay, yeah, I'll make sure to watch some Mark Kermode stuff when this is over. Kermode is a steadfast chap. Yeah, he's been mentioned so many times in these streams. I'll have to finally watch some of his stuff. I'll make sure to do that when this stream is over. What else was I gonna watch? Oh, Thelma and Louise trailer. Watch the trailer for Thelma and Louise. Mark Kermode rants. Make sure to do that. Four Lions. Got it. Twin Peaks, Baby Driver, 10 Cloverfield Lane. All on the list for this week. Oh, there's really no sign of J.J. Abrams' involvement in 10 Cloverfield Lane, so don't worry. Okay, good to know. Oh, Mark Kermode also rips into Tarantino quite a bit, too. Interesting. Be curious to see, yeah, what he has to say about that. Yeah, I've heard many criticisms of Tarantino. I listen to Leonard Maltin's podcast every once in a while, too. And yeah, he really did not like Hateful Eight. Had some very negative things to say about that. So yeah, Tarantino, I guess at the very least, he's an acquired taste, it seems. For me, it's definitely been an acquired taste. For a long time, yeah, Jackie Brown was really the only one I really loved. But I don't know, I feel like I'm starting to get it. We'll see, though, going back to some of his other stuff, how I react to it upon revisiting it. But I don't know, I feel like I'm starting to build the palette for that, for his work. Oh, Jack, I will watch Entertainment this week then. A friend of mine said he didn't like it, so I haven't watched it, but might finally give it a go. It's a very divisive movie. I think it's going to be one of those ones you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. It'll feel like the most self-indulgent thing if you're not on that wavelength, if you're not really connecting to the tone that the film sets. I'm not saying I was right or wrong, but I really connected to it. I really just got lost in the landscape that it created, and I absolutely loved it, responded very strongly to it. But yeah, it's a hit or miss. It could go either way for you, honestly. I don't know. I'm not sure. But hopefully you like it. After watching it, I would say the best way to approach it is as a horror film. More than a comedy, more than a drama. I think it's just like this strange, tonal, existential horror film. And that, I think, is the best way to approach it. But it's a horror film where nothing really violent happens, or just in terms of it's violence presented through the format of entertainment. Yeah, like when the comedian pretends to machine gun the audience. That's that's the kind of violence it's exploring. Violence through entertainment. But yeah, there's something very dark and twisted in that character's head that I think is explored in the most fascinating visual, aural way. But I loved it. Yeah, so hopefully you enjoy it too. It's very difficult for me to say. I would not be able to predict how any individual person would react to it. But hopefully you like it. Blue Jam is on YouTube, Henry. Also, The Day Today and Brass Eye Man. So you can check it out. Okay, I'll try to... Chris Morris stuff. Yeah, I'll try to see some of that too. I'll definitely at least watch Four Lions. But I'll see if I can check out some of this other stuff too. Downloading Okja and Entertainment Now too, so thank you. Yeah, hopefully you like those. And we'll do one more. Music for Soul wants to know, what is your favorite Uwe Boll film? That's a tough question. That is a very, very tough question. You know, honestly, I've never thought Uwe Boll was as bad as he's made out to be, but I still don't know if I would call him a good director. So that is a very difficult question. I sort of enjoy Alone in the Dark. I think for the first like 10-15 minutes, that movie is absolutely hilarious and very entertaining, but then it really loses steam. So yeah, overall, I don't know if I could really say I enjoyed Alone in the Dark. I think maybe Postal. That might be his best film. Because, yeah, I think it was exactly what it set out to be. And oh god, to be honest too, it's been many, many years since I've seen it. I don't know how I would react to it revisiting it, because I watched it back when I was in high school. So, yeah, maybe just being in the mode of like, oh, the stuff I'm watching is like South Park and YouTube videos, all this really offensive, taboo-breaking stuff. Maybe it was the right age to watch a movie like Postal, which is, yeah, very childish and immature and just trying to be offensive for the sake of being offensive. I don't know how I would react to it if I watched it today, but I remember at the time thinking that was Uwe Boll's best movie. That it was just trying to be tasteless and funny, and I thought it was tasteless and funny. I remember thinking Dave Foley was very funny in it. I'm a big Kids in the Hall fan. I think that's one of the best sketch comedy shows. So I think Dave Foley is very funny. I don't know. Yeah, honestly, yeah, I remember liking that one. I remember thinking it was funny. Call me crazy, but I remember thinking it was funny. That's about all I can think of. Yeah, the Blood Rain movies, didn't enjoy those so much. Haven't seen a lot of his other stuff. He's been directing non-stop as well. He's done a lot of movies. It's shocking. Oh, Far Cry, that was a horrible movie. I don't know. I can't really think of anything else. But I don't know. Maybe Postal. Maybe. I don't know, though. I'm reluctant to say that, but possibly. It's the one I remember enjoying the most. So hopefully that's a good answer. It's a tough question. That's a tough question. Alright. Last few things. Last stream, someone was telling you to watch the Russian film Leviathan. I watched it this week and was absolutely blown away by it. Alright, I've looked into that one. I've tried to see it, but I haven't really found a way to watch it easily yet. I'm kind of like, yeah. I don't like downloading stuff, and I can't really, spend too much money right now, but I'll write it down to make sure I don't forget it. And this is the one, this is by the guy, because there's two Leviathan movies. There's the one that's like, I think it's like a documentary about a fisherman or something like that. Yeah, and then there's this Russian film by the director that did The Return. I'm assuming that's the one you're talking about. I think they're both Russian. I forget now. But if it's the one you're talking about, yeah, I'll try to track that one down, because I am very interested in seeing it. So if I can find a way to watch it, yeah, I'll definitely let you know. But yeah, it's on my list. It's on the list. It's on the list. It's a big list. Okay, and last thing, Sasha. I understand that your brother walked out of Little Fockers. How can a human being walk out on Jessica Alba? I'm biased. I love her. I don't know. Maybe she wasn't in enough of it to hold his attention. I'm not sure. I just know he walked out on it. Yeah, I don't know. I did think Jessica Alba was pretty good in the Sin City sequel. You know, that actually gave her a chance to do some real acting, and I thought she was good. You know, the where the Nancy character is taken in that story, I thought was pretty interesting. Thought she did pretty well. You know, I know the Sin City sequel, A Dame to Kill For, it got sort of negative reviews, but it's basically just more Sin City, and I liked the first Sin City, and I liked the second one. But yeah, as far as Jessica Alba goes, I think that's been the best performance of hers that I've seen, was in A Dame to Kill For. So I don't know. I guess yeah. I guess Little Fockers didn't give enough Jessica Alba. I'm not sure. You'd have to talk to him. All right, yeah. So Okja's worth a watch then, dude. Sorry you came late to the stream. No, it's okay. Yeah, I think it's worth a watch. I think it's worth a watch. Oh, a warning about Leviathan. It's Haneke-style depressing. Okay, well that's good to know. Well, yeah, we'll see how I react to it. I understand it's supposed to be like 3 hours long, so I don't know. We'll see how I react to it. But yeah, I'm trying to track that one down, trying to see it. I've only seen one of that director's movies, The Return. That's the only one I've seen. But yeah, I've heard great things about his other stuff. He just did another one too, right? God, what was it? Somebody else mentioned it to me. I have it written down here somewhere. I know I wrote it because it premiered at Cannes. Loveless. That's right, Loveless. Yeah, I need to see more of his work. But, okay. Laszlo Kovacs was the DP on Ghostbusters? Was he? No, he wasn't. Oh, Loveless? Yeah, thank you. Yes, okay, so it's the director I'm thinking of. That's good. I'm gonna double check that, because was Laszlo Kovacs the DP on Ghostbusters? Oh, did you already talk about Paterson? I just joined not too long ago. Yeah, I did already talk about Paterson. I'm sorry. That was a while back. But yeah, okay, so I've got stuff to watch, some stuff to check out. Mark Kermode, the Thelma and Louise trailer, and some movies too. So I will get on that, and yeah, hopefully everyone, yeah, who joined me here today has some other stuff to check out this week as well. Hope we all find some good movies. Hope we all enjoy some stuff. But surprising but true, Laszlo Kovacs on Ghostbusters. That's interesting. Okay. Oh, Jack saying I haven't seen the director's other films, but really want to after seeing Leviathan. Yeah. I'll try and search for it again, see if it's available somewhere. But yeah, I looked into it not too long ago, couldn't find it. But yeah, it's definitely on the list. But yeah, thank you so much everybody for joining me on this stream. Hope you all had a good time. I certainly did. And yeah, I think next week we're gonna have Denny Boy, my brother, back on here again. We'll be talking about Twin Peaks. We will hopefully be talking about Baby Driver and 10 Cloverfield Lane as well, and some other stuff. God, gonna watch Star Wars Despecialized now. Is that I'm not sure what that is. But yeah, thank you so much everyone. I'll see you next Saturday, and have a good time in the meantime. Bye bye.